distinguished guest of honor, esteemed dignitaries, industry leaders, member of academia, delegates, ladies and gentlemen. The semiconductor industry is no longer just about technology. It is about economic resilience, strategic autonomy, innovation, and national security. With visionary initiatives such as the India Semiconductor Mission 2.0, our nation is creating an enabling ecosystem for semiconductor design, manufacturing, research, innovation, and skill development. On behalf of the Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I extend a very warm welcome to each one of you to Semiconductor India 2026 National Conference on Accelerating India's Semiconductor Sovereignty. We sincerely thank you all, our distinguished speakers and delegates, for joining us today. Ladies and gentlemen, to now formally commence today's program, may I request our volunteers to kindly escort our distinguished dignitary to the dais. May I first invite Dr. Jitendra Singh, Deputy Secretary General, Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to kindly grace the dais. May I now also request and invite Shri Karan Mangla, Co-Chair, Foreign Trade and Investment Committee, Phdcci, and Promoter and Director, SH Haryana Wires, to kindly join us on the dais. Can we also have a huge round of applause as dignitaries join us on the dais? I welcome Shri Madhvendra Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Electronics Sector Skills Council of India. I also invite our distinguished guest of honor, Ms. Tulika Pandey, Scientist G and Group Coordinator, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. I also invite Ms. Sheetal Chopra, Director, NIE-LIT Regional Center, Delhi. Thank you, all our dignitaries, to be present here. Can we have a huge round of applause? It is now my privilege to invite Dr. Jitendra Singh, Deputy Secretary General, Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry, to deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I welcome all the distinguished delegates, our distinguished speakers on the dais who have made up for this particular program. And this conference, as we know, is a very important conference and very timely. Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry is a 121 years old organization and working precisely for the meeting the objectives of the micro, small and medium enterprises. And as a interface between government and the industry, the Chamber plays a very important role in terms of policy advocacy, thought leadership, and giving timely suggestions so that the challenges which are being faced by the industry are surmounted timely. So again, it's my privilege to welcome all of you to Semiconductor India 2026. It's a conference that the Chamber has convened with a singular and urgent purpose. And the purpose is to accelerate India's journey towards semiconductor sovereignty. And as we know that with this all geopolitical tensions and all the crises that's going on, now it's quite evident that semiconductors are no longer just components. They are basically the foundation of modern economies. They are very important for the national security and also for technological independence. And as we know that the global supply chains are realigning and nations are racing to secure chip capabilities. So right now our country stands at a very, very defining moment. So our objective today is basically threefold. In fact, the first objective is basically to understand and create a platform where the policymakers, the industry and academia can align together on a shared roadmap for the indigenous semiconductor design, fabrication and packaging. And in fact, in the first session, you can see it's an amalgamation of the regulators from the ministry. We have the presentation from the academia, NILET, and from the capacity building from Skilling Space, we have the Electronics Sector Skill Council of India. And in fact, this second objective is basically to identify the skilling, the investment, as well as the infrastructure gap that is required to bridge for India to move towards from being a consumer to a creator in this space. And third one is basically to strengthen the collaborative ecosystem like government schemes, the industry investment, and also skilled manpower that will actually make that Make in India chips a reality rather than just an aspiration. So this mission cannot succeed without our MSMEs. As we know that MSMEs are the backbone of our economy, and in fact they are very, very pertinent actors in the entire semiconductor value chain, be it from the ancillary components to the global supply chains. And also we need to tell them about the access to the new government schemes. We have ISM 2.0 right now, which is announced in the recent budget, and I think the policy and the notification is in the pipeline. And also how to basically upskill the workforce, particularly for the SMEs, so that they become a part of a very, very important part of the high value manufacturing. So this conference is as much as a platform for the MSMEs to find partnerships and clarity on the policy support as it same for the large industry players. And in fact, I now take this opportunity to welcome our important guests. We have deep appreciation, first of all, to our guest of honor, Ms. Tulika Pandey, scientist G at METI. A big round of applause. In fact, she brings invaluable policy insight that actually shapes the very schemes that is driving this mission. We have with us Shri Madhvendra Singh Ji, CEO of ESSCI. He actually represents a critical human capital dimension. Actually, that is the building the skill ecosystem, the workforce for our semiconductor ambitions demand. So he is there to bridge that demand supply gap as far as the skill development is concerned. We have with us Dr. Sheetal from NILIT, and she actually embodies that institutional strength to bridge the education and industry. So creating an interface between the industry and academia. And we have with us Shri Karan Manglaji. He is the co-chair of our committee on Foreign Trade Investment Committee of Phdcci and also director at SH Haryana Wires. He actually brings the industry and enterprise perspective, which is essential to translate this policy into practice. So together, like all important delegates, and I'm sure that of the dais also, we have very, very important stakeholders in this space, and I'm sure that the presence of all of you actually set the tone for the conference, and I'm confident that this will actually yield some actionable insights for India's semiconductor future. And in fact, we have many domain experts and subject matter experts in the technical session 1 and 2. At the end of that day, we'll be coming with the action taken report, the important deliberations, some of the challenges, some of the issues which are being faced by the industry, and what are the probable solutions. We will in fact make a white paper out of all the deliberations, and we'll send it to METI and related ministry and departments, and also to the state governments for their perusal. So on behalf of Chamber, I welcome you once again. Thank you very much indeed. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir, for such inspiring opening remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, our semiconductor journey is not only being shaped by visionary policies, but also by industry leaders who continue to drive innovation, manufacturing excellence, and global competitiveness. It is now my pleasure to introduce a dynamic entrepreneur and industry leader who has been making significant contributions to India's manufacturing sector. As the co-chair of the Foreign Trade and Investment Committee, Phdcci Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and promoter and director of SH Haryana Wires, he leads a 1,000 crore enterprise manufacturing enameled copper and aluminium winding wires for the electrical, industrial, and automotive sectors. Under his visionary leadership, the company has expanded its manufacturing capabilities, strengthened partnerships with leading OEMs, and developed advanced winding wire solutions for next-gen electric applications. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Shri Karan Mangla, sir. Can I have a huge round of applause as sir addresses the audience?
Good morning, distinguished delegates, policymakers, and fellow industry leaders. I speak to you today not as a policy analyst, but as someone who stands on the factory floor every day, where sovereignty isn't a slogan. It's a supply chain that either shows up on time or doesn't. Let me start with where we truly stand. India has moved from intent to infrastructure. As of this year, 13 semiconductor projects worth roughly 1.64 lakh crore have been approved across 7 states. Micron's 80 MP facility in Sananand is operational. Keynes Semicon is shipping packaged chips commercially. And Tata Electronics, in partnership with PSMC and backed by an ASML technology agreement, is racing towards first silicon at Dholera, India's first true wafer fab, a 91,000 crore anchor investment. The union budget's 8,000 crore allocation and the launch of ISM 2.0 signals that our government understands this is a decade-long campaign, not a ribbon-cutting event. But as an industry practitioner, I have to be candid. Approvals are not chips. Announcements are not yield. Today, even at full capacity, our approved fabs and OSATs will cover only a fraction of India's semiconductor consumption. The rest we will import. That gap is not a failure, it is our roadmap. So what does the manufacturing plant floor need from this room today? 3 things. First, speed on equipment and clean room infrastructure. Every month of delay in lithography and etch tool delivery is a month our downstream electronics, automotive, and defense manufacturers stay import dependent. Industry needs debottlenecked customs, faster environmental clearances, and predictable power and water infrastructure. Sovereignty is built on concrete and megawatts, as much as on mass and wafers. Second, talent at industrial scale, not pilot scale. India needs an estimated 300,000 trained semiconductor professionals over the next 5 to 7 years. We already command roughly a fifth of the world's chip design workforce. That is a genuine strategic asset. But design talent does not automatically become fab and packaging talent. We need apprenticeship-style, clean room-ready training pipelines, not just curriculum updates. Industry is willing to co-invest in this, but we need academia and government to move at our pace, not the other way around. Third, demand-side conviction. Fabs need anchor customers. As Indian manufacturers of wires and cables, automotive electronics, telecom, and industrial systems, we must commit deliberately and early to design in India chips, even when the global alternative is momentarily cheaper. Sovereignty is a shared discipline between the state that subsidizes the fab and the industry that buys its output. And let us not build this mission around large anchors alone. MSMEs are the 4th pillar of this journey. The giant fab will always dominate headlines, but it is our MSMEs who will build the gas cabinets, precision tooling, specialty chemicals, clean room consumables, and component-level supply chain that a fab consumes every single day. Platforms like the Chip-in Center and shared design infrastructure have already lowered entry barriers for smaller design startups. We now need the same urgency applied to manufacturing side MSMEs. Vendor development programs, faster payment cycles from anchor OEMs, and dedicated MSME clusters around Dholera, Sananand, and Assam are not welfare measures. They are resilience measures. A semiconductor ecosystem that depends only on 3 or 4 large private players is not sovereign. It is merely relocated dependency. Real sovereignty is a 1,000 vendor deep supply chain. That is exactly where our MSMEs must be bought in as co-builders, not subcontractors. India's domestic semiconductor market is on a trajectory towards $100 billion plus by 2030. That is not a forecast we can afford to meet with imported silicon. The mission has crossed the hardest threshold, believing it's possible. The next threshold is harder, converting steel and silicon into shipped volumes quarter after quarter without excuses. From the shop floor, my message to this house is simple. Give industry velocity, and industry will give India sovereignty. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an insightful address. It truly highlighted the importance of innovation, manufacturing excellence, and industry collaboration. It is now my privilege to introduce a distinguished leader who has played a pivotal role in building India's electronics and semiconductor talent ecosystem. As the Chief Executive Officer of the Electronics Sector Skills Council of India, he has been instrumental in aligning skill development initiatives with industry requirements, fostering industry academia collaboration, and preparing a future-ready workforce for India's rapidly evolving electronics and semiconductor sector. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Shri Madhvendra Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Electronics Sector Skills Council of India. Sir, over to you.
Thank you. Respected guest of honor, Madam Tulika Pandey, a scientist G and the group coordinator HRD for MIT, Ms. Sheetal Chopra, Director NILIT, Dr. Jatinder Singh, Shri Karan Mangla, very senior colleagues from the industry, distinguished professionals, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, very warm greetings to all of you on the World Youth Skills Day today. And thank you for inviting me to deliver this special address. We are no longer just dreaming of a digital future. We are actively engineering it. While global giants build mega fabs and advanced ATMP facilities on our shores, the true backbone of this revolution lies in our grassroots enterprise, that is MSMEs. And ma'am, I can assure you that the gathering is small, but it's very powerful, because every one of us is relevant, and they are the ones who's making the future for the semiconductor fab. These are the component makers, the tester units, and the precision packagers that will accelerate India's semiconductor sovereignty. The semiconductor sovereignty is no more a luxury to have, but a critical strategic choice for our nation. In the modern digital era, the true national sovereignty belongs to those who control the silicon, because a nation that cannot manufacture its own chips is ultimately building its future on rented security. By anchoring these enterprises with Electronic Sector Skill Council of India, the industry-synced future-ready skill architecture, we are transforming thousands of local job seekers into high-tech job creators. ESSCI is not just training a workforce, we are building the human supply chain that will run India into the ultimate global semiconductor giant's future by 2030. We are duty-bound to bridge the gap between the small scale and the silicon sovereignty. We are duty-bound to ensure that every youth of India gets an opportunity at skilling, and that the demography becomes a dividend and not a challenge. We are duty-bound to ensure that every corporate gets requisite set of skilled, day-one, job-ready manpower for their factories. And we are also duty-bound to sit as gatekeepers for the standardized skilling qualifications to ensure every youth has a verified and future-ready qualification which is acceptable across the globe. India's semiconductor ecosystem is rapidly transitioning into a global hub, currently driven by 13 approved projects under the ISM and specs, which include major ATMP under OSAT facilities, alongside pioneering front-end fab units in Gujarat and Odisha. Supported by cumulative investments already exceeding $20 billion and a domestic market projected to reach almost $130 billion by 2030, this expansion demands a massive workforce transformation. The core semiconductor talent pool is expected to reach nearly 400,000 professionals, alongside a broader supply chain requirement of 1.5 million skilled workers. Crucially, a thriving network of MSMEs and design startups, buttressed by schemes like the Design-Linked Incentive, is anchoring this growth and is projected to generate and absorb hundreds of thousands of ancillary jobs in component manufacturing, quality control, and logistics to sustain these multi-billion-dollar manufacturing giants. The mighty, as I call it, acts as a visionary architect building India's semiconductor stage, while PhD Chambers orchestrates the business and MSME ecosystem to populate it. And ESSCI acts as the master conservatory, meticulously training the precision talent required to make the entire manufacturing symphony a success. We must also leverage our existing strengths. India has emerged as the preferred destination for global semiconductor R&D and design centers. Consequently, ESSCI welcomes stronger engagement with global capacity centers, led by the multitude of efficient government policies and driven by the intent for holistic economic growth for India. To ensure that talent does not become the bottleneck for India's sovereignty in semiconductors, ESSCI has laid out a comprehensive framework and is committed to supporting India's semiconductor growth by developing standardized national occupation standards for emerging semiconductor roles, creating industry-aligned qualifications and curriculums, training the trainers and faculties, establishing semiconductor-focused centers of excellence, building partnerships with industry, academia, and state governments and research institutions. We are supporting apprenticeships and placement-led skilling, and we are promoting lifelong learning through continuous upskilling and reskilling programs. Ladies and gentlemen, the semiconductor ecosystem cannot be built by a single stakeholder alone. It requires active collaboration among government, industry, academia, research institutions, startups, global companies, and the skill development ecosystem. We are laying the foundation today for what will become the backbone of the global digital economy for tomorrow. As a lasting thought, we can import machinery and we can invite capital, but we cannot import sovereignty. True Atmanirbhar Bharat is achieved only when our own workforce engineers the chips that run the world. Let us remember that as we build these massive fabs and clean rooms, we are not just manufacturing microchips. Through skilling, we are manufacturing India's destiny. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Your address has reaffirmed that India's semiconductor aspirations can only be realized through a robust ecosystem. It's now my privilege to welcome and introduce Ms. Sheetal Chopra, Director, NIE-LIT, Regional Center, Delhi, as our inaugural special guest. A gold medalist in physics with a master's degree in computer science, Ms. Chopra is currently pursuing her PhD in artificial intelligence in healthcare. She began her career as a lecturer in physics at Government Engineering College, Jammu, and has since dedicated more than 28 years to NIE-LIT, where she has held several key leadership positions. Her extensive contributions to skilling and capacity building in the fields of information and technology and electronics have empowered thousands of learners and professionals. Please join me as we welcome on stage to address for Ms. Sheetal Chopra. Can we have a huge round of applause?
Respected Tulika Pandey Madam, all the dignitaries on the stage, off the stage, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, good morning everyone. It is my honor and privilege to be here on this inaugural session of National Conference on Semiconductor 2026. I sincerely congratulate PHD-CCI for conceptualizing this important conference on this theme, which is really the need of the hour. The conference today reflects India's growing determination to establish itself as a global leader in semiconductor design, manufacturing, innovation, and most importantly, the talent development. Now, this platform today brings together policymakers, industry, MSMEs, startups, academia, skilling, and young professionals. And this collaboration is indispensable for building a strong semiconductor ecosystem. Now, today, semiconductors are at the heart of digital economy. So from smartphones to laptops to medical equipment to defense equipment, so everything, AI applications, so everything that you think of, it is the semiconductors that power every aspect of modern life. In fact, this is the new oil of digital India. So we really have to understand the importance and recent global disruptions. In fact, during COVID period and further recent disruptions during the wars and other things, and the disruptions in the semiconductor supply chains, they demonstrated how dependent modern economies have become on a few manufacturing hubs. They also reinforce the importance of developing resilient and self-resilient semiconductor ecosystems, a self-reliant ecosystem. So recognizing this strategic necessity, Government of India, under the visionary leadership of our Honorable Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi ji, launched the India Semiconductor Mission to position India as a trusted global hub for semiconductor design, manufacturing and innovation. And my ministry, Ministry of Electronics and IT, has taken a pioneering role through the launch of ISM. And now recently announced ISM 2.0, this mission goes far beyond establishing fabrication facilities. It is about building a complete ecosystem containing design, manufacturing, packaging, testing, research, innovation, materials, equipments, and above all, I say this because I am from academia, so I say that above all, it is the skilled human resources. That is the whole system, whole ecosystem that ISM 2.0 takes care of. So the clear vision is design in India, develop in India, manufacture in India, innovate in India, lead from India. And this vision forms the integral part of a national aspiration, our national aspiration, which is Viksit Bharat 2047. So as Director of National Institute of Electronics and IT, which is the HRD arm of Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, I take this opportunity to focus on developing the skilled manpower in this field. Human capital is India's greatest competitive advantage, and this is the most valuable resource which cannot be purchased, but which needs to be nurtured. So India's greatest strength lies in its young population. Every year we are producing thousands of engineering graduates. The challenge before us is not merely producing graduates, it is producing industry-ready professionals capable of contributing to the semiconductor value chain from day one. So day one, we want them to be ready, the industry ready, and that is where NILET plays its vital role. NILET has a unique position. It is both an amalgamation of academia. NILET is a deemed to be university now, and since 1970s, it has been involved in the skilling in the fields of electronics and information technology. So basically, over the years, NILET has transformed itself into India's one of India's premier institutions for developing skilled professionals in emerging technologies. NILET is now deemed to be a university, as I told. It has 56 skilling centers and thousands of training partners. So we are focusing on all emerging areas like ESDM, embedded systems, semiconductor design, VLSI technologies, AI, machine learning, Internet of Things, robotics, quantum computing, everything, anything and everything that you can think of in this area. So we are working on that, drone technology also. So through our nationwide network of centers, I said we have centers, 56 centers. In fact, so many of them are also, 25 of them are in northeast part of the country. So NILET is ensuring that advanced technology education reaches not only to the metropolitan cities, but to tier 2, tier 3 cities as well, and the aspirational districts as well. We believe that talent exists in every corner of India. Our responsibility is to ensure that opportunities reach every talented individual, and NILET's aim is to democratize the skilling ecosystem. NILET is actively contributing by developing industry-oriented programs that bridge the gap between education and academia. So just to cut it short, just a few latest ventures, the initiatives of NILET, I would just like to highlight. NILET has developed a center of excellence in chip design in Noida. eChip Hub, which is, of course, a MIT-sponsored national edtech platform, but developed by NILET, that is used to democratize semiconductor chip design education, which is accessible to students, academia, and professionals across India. The platform provides structured courses, workshops, and India's first chips craft lab based on open source EDA tools. This is the first time that is happening in India for hands-on learning in the complete chip design flow. Apart from that, there is one NILET in Guwahati. So NILET Guwahati is contributing to semiconductor workforce development in Northeast through training in ATMP. At present, training facilities being set up in Guwahati University campus. NILET University campus with Center of Excellence in Advanced Packages is proposed to be built in Jagi Road, Assam, which will be jointly operated by NILET and Tata Electronics. NILET and Tata Electronics, they have signed an MOU and working on creating courses and internship programs. Similarly in Gujarat, so all this we are able to do with the able guidance of Madam Tulika and Mighty. So NILET Gujarat is in process of establishing a new center at ITI, Industrial Training Institute, Chandkheda, Ahmedabad, to support India's semiconductor ecosystem through skill training in electronics and semiconductor manufacturing. So once again, I would like to re-emphasize that NILET is doing its bit, but the success depends upon collaboration. Government formulates the visionary policies, industry creates the products and employments, academic institutions generate research and innovation, training organizations build skilled manpower, startups develop disruptive technology, financial institutions, they support investment. So when all these stakeholders come together, that is when the semiconductor sovereignty becomes a reality. So once again, I congratulate Phdcci for having this platform where all can come together and think of how we can take this vision of our Prime Minister forward. Thank you so much, and Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your address has truly underscored the vital role of education and research in shaping India's semiconductor future. Ladies and gentlemen, it is now my privilege to invite and introduce our distinguished guest of honor for the keynote address. A highly accomplished officer of the Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, Ms. Tulika Pandey serves as Scientist G and Group Coordinator, where she has been closely associated with policy formulation and implementation for India's electronics and semiconductor sector. Through her leadership and strategic vision, she has played an important role in advancing initiatives that strengthen India's electronics manufacturing ecosystem, semiconductor mission, and technological self-reliance. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in extending a very warm welcome to Ms. Tulika Pandey as she addresses the audience today. Over to you, ma'am.
Namaskar. Thank you for joining us today. What we have here are the representatives, and what we have here are the leaders. So whenever the PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industries invites me and the Government of India, we know we are going to a place where we will be able to connect. Surprisingly, the PhD stands for Progress, Harmony and Development. So the term harmony becomes key for us. We've heard the term sovereignty in all the other speakers mentioning. And if we understand sovereignty, or maybe how it is defined or understood by us, it should be very safe, trusted, something which aligns with the ethos of the country and its people. Am I right in this, or kuch aur hona chahiye? Right? What is important? Isse aage badhna padega. Yes, agreed, sovereignty has become important because suddenly we see the term supply chain. Ab wo kya hai? What is supply chain? ये शब्द क्यों आया? Why did we start to suddenly see supply chain issues? And we are facing as India, or maybe as any other country, we're all going through this sudden new term, supply chain. What is that? क्या है? Supply chain क्यों है? क्या है? परफेक्ट नहीं, बट हाँ, तो उसकी ईथॉस में अगर आप जाते हैं, वाई आर वी, यस प्लीज, यस, तो जब हम when we started to become an industrial economy, all of us, we were very happy and very confident. So and so country has the ability, has the setup, and we will be able to coexist together. What we have, we can share, and what they have, we can easily get those from them at a price. And we agreed to what those could be, right? और एक और नई चीज़ है standards. मुझे माफ़ कीजिएगा, I purposely am doing this because I have a very beautiful speech that I can deliver. But उससे क्या फ़ायदा? We heard amazing, and all that was to be said has actually been very well presented to you all. Industrial requirements, what is it that they can lead, what is it that they can expect or demand in terms of policy or from the academia in terms of skill sets. So the training partners से क्या expect करते हैं. So we've heard all of it. मुझे नहीं लगता इसके आगे मुझे कुछ ज़्यादा कहने की ज़रूरत पड़ती है. And I will repeat something in very foreign language. एक अंग्रेज़ी भाषा में मैं भी आप लोग के साथ मुखातिब हो जाऊंगी और मैं भी कुछ ऐसे अच्छी सी एक स्पीच दे दूंगी. लेकिन वो मेरा काम है इंटरैक्ट करना, आप लोग से सीखना. मैं सुनने आई हूँ, मैं आप लोगों से ये जानने आई हूँ कि what is it that you expect as our main hubs. अब जब MSMEs वो हमारे key partners बन गए. In the new world order, we're not looking at large scales, right? We're looking at niche skills, niche technologies, and responding to the niche requirements of every diverse socio-economic beneficiaries or users that we are catering to. हम सब यही तो करना चाह रहे हैं, राइट? तो उसमें अब जब डिमांड हमारी है वो स्केल बहुत हाई स्केल नहीं होगी, नॉट वेरी लार्ज स्केल. And if that be so, we are having already several industries across the globe, right? But now we have seen that people have started to come to India. क्यों आ रहे हैं? Why are the various industries, various new technologies treading the path of coming to this world, this earth, this part of the globe? Because we have something more that we can give for each. For example, where we replaced our body parts and we advanced how we reached places because we had the wheels, we created those. We created fire to cook and have tasty foods. We created different tools to extend our arm. We created mobile phones to be able to communicate without any barriers. And so we as humans have always been intent to making our lives easier and easiest. And today we talk about artificial intelligence. I don't say I always say artificial intelligence. Why? Because we need to realize that that intelligence is something that has been created artificially with the help of several humans who have written those right codes, who have brought in all those rule sets that on which we will work, who have created this machine learning, who have created these large language models, and so on and so forth. Again, फिर से एक सवाल उठाती हूँ मैं कि जब हम बना रहे हैं, one of us has put our minds and our efforts to create something to facilitate a certain process or an action or procedure or something that we are creating, right? तो मशीनीकरण जब किया हमने, now that we have automated almost every process that is commonly required. We are very comfortable. We started with digitization, then we gone on to digitalization, and now we are going to, handing over our decision making to machines, and we want it to be very trustworthy and reliable, right? And today we suddenly have come to a conclusion that हमने दिमाग के तो replication बना दी, लेकिन हमारा दिल अभी तक उसमें नहीं बसा. So जो हमारे artificial intelligence के जितने हम लोगों ने आयाम बनाए हैं, in every forms, right? Today we also have humanoids. We have reached up to there. So while we have tried to bring in the ethos of the physical demands and others, but we are yet to bring it the compassion of a human being in those machines. We are still working hard at it, and that's why we are seeing examples of humanoids being made and experiment with, because the neuromorphic experiment, the neurons that we are trying to bring together and to emulate those are still not completely under our control, right? So now when we are looking at all of this, in the middle of all of it, and there is this importance of sovereignty. Why that term sovereignty has also become very important? Anybody? Fear? Fear of not being, not receiving tools or technologies that will exactly serve the purpose that it claims that it will serve? या कुछ और? Trust, freedom of choice, और कुछ?
Different countries using their supply chain as a weapon against others.
Good point, but yes, और कुछ? मैं संवाद में विश्वास करती हूँ, वरना मेरे 10 मिनट में मैं निकल जाऊँगी, कोई बात नहीं. What is really important, please understand, is when the term sovereignty has reached our desks, your desks, it is actually a responsibility now upon you all. Sovereignty also includes the ethos of the country, how the citizens expect to be able to benefit from all the tools, technologies, systems, services that we are offering to them. वो trust, वो हमारी ethos अलग है. And when we are building, when we are talking about आत्मनिर्भर भारत, है ना, तो हम क्या चाह रहे हैं? Not just that we are being able to take care of supply chain scenarios by having our own tools, technologies, and all the services. We don't have to go and adapt bread in our lives when we are actually used to eating roti or chapati. Surprisingly, abhi kya nazar aata hai? Suddenly, the world has sat up and recognized India's ethos, its cultures, as being the most scientific in the current socio-economic world. Everything about India has now attracted the attention of the world. They have started to adopt the Indian spices, very popular, the Indian food. We've all heard the Balti chicken and so many other things. So ये सिर्फ अपने आप की पीठ थपथपाने की बात नहीं. We'll have to understand what is that is expected from India now in the new world order. What is it that we are expected to now deliver? So recently, India AI Summit, why we had many stories about what happened and what did not happen. But one thing that really happened is while we started to discuss AI, बाहर जब भी 3 meetings हुई, so we discussed artificial intelligence, what we can benefit, how it can be made smarter. But when it came to India, the first thing that became the highlight was the ethical AI. We talked about the need to bring in a discussion about how to bring in ethics of using this smart artificial intelligence into the lives of people. Because artificial intelligence has first been adopted by those where we had structured data sets available, right? Where was it? It was in health domain. Where else was it? It was in automation domain. Where else was it? So what we need to really realize is when technologies and newer technologies are bound to come, we are now seeing quantum in a couple of years. We're already experimenting with 6G and beyond. Once these most, forcible, very effective, or maybe newer, smarter, faster, transparent, ubiquitous, all of these terminologies are going to be attached to the new world order, right? So when it is so, how many times do you think you as a common user will be asked for your choice or your rejection of no, I will not take the next step? Most of the processes that you're seeing now are getting fully automated. Either you use it or you don't use it. And if you don't use it, it's your choice. Because yes, you will suffer. So artificial intelligence, when it came to India, the narrative that got very worrying for most of us, which happened also when internet first came, was it will take away jobs, was it will disrupt the social order, was that the households may not have enough to run their house, because many people who are doing those mundane old style activities and earning is defined as a job, is going to be taken away because of automation. But what's new? Whenever technology comes into our lives, it is we who have created it for our comfort. We now want artificial intelligence to also get into decision making, because till long we did not fully trust the machines to even take over decision making. For a long time, we said no. Whenever there's a final decision to be taken, there has to be a well-skilled, well-informed, fully trained somebody, a human, who will take the final call. But now, suddenly, the industries, the enterprises are seeing and adopting artificial intelligence. In the beginning, all of them have simply followed the race and brought in AI and removed the people without fully going through the trails of how do we adopt a new technology, right? So when we are coming here today, when we are saying that yes, chips are the core, raw base that we need for assimilating, for creating the new machines, the new systems, the new technologies. So we have realized that now the chips are the core where we need to give our focus. And we realized that not just chips, even the sensors that we're using that we get in 0.01 cents or less than that today are the core things that we need to now have our own. And that's where the term sovereignty comes, because when we design the actuators and chips, we will also look at whether we can find alternatives to the current semiconductor dependence, the gallium arsenide dependence that we see. And if those are not yet our own produce, we are importing, then we can be at any point of time facing the problem of supply chain, and we may not be able to serve. And the other very important thing that all of you should remember, that we humans, we are very quick to change our colors. And once we have adopted something and once we have seen convenience in our lives, click of a button, click of a button, click of a button, we have given up. That instant gratification has brought in greed. We've lost that habit of rechecking what we are agreeing to, rechecking what we are giving a personal data for people to then give me some 10% or 5% or 1% of value. So we as humans also have evolved gradually to now giving away our responsibilities and our decision making easily to any service, any technology or any tool. We're all wearing this tool, this knowing very well that the data that this is collecting is not being collected within India, is going somewhere, is going to be used as information for understanding our health, our habits, and then creating the, some of the smarter medicines and other problems. So our health records, we all are committing. We don't mind giving it away for something that says will tell you how many steps you took today and is telling you, whether you have slept well at night or not. So suddenly we are getting trained to making our lives dependable on machines, on processes, technologies, which are not created in India, but there was somebody smart enough to bring out some of these tools that brought in some information that we felt is very useful for us to lead a healthier life, a better way of doing things, and all of those, right? It also talks about the postures. And if we agree to Internet of Everything, everyone who are sitting on these chairs, if the chairs start communicating data about your weight, your posture, and maybe the ill effects of what would happen, do you see that this is the new world order that we are going to be accepting, whether by choice or we are simply adopting because this is what is being given to us as we have created this is the convenience, and go ahead and bring it. So in this new world order, each one of you sitting there who have given your time, you all are innovators, you all are creators, you all are people who did the extra legwork, who have completely accepted the challenges that you all are facing when you're trying to build something new, a small tool to a big process, to something that will bring convenience for governance, that will bring convenience for enterprises. And we today realize, and that is why our Honorable Prime Minister said, Viksit Bharat, lekin saath mein Atmanirbhar Bharat, right? And yes, you all will need the government policies, the right regulations, the right support, such that when you take this will in your hand saying, yes, I have that ability, I know what to design, I know what to develop, I know how to solve one of the local challenges that I see in the lives of our senior citizens or common citizens, then if you come out with that particular solution that you think is effective, you will need to be supported. You will need to access not just the domestic market, but also the global market. So I now will also add that when we talk about sovereignty, let us, we Indians, bring in the ethos of humanity into every tool, technology, and service that we have created, such that at no point of time do we have to take a very cautious 3 steps back before adopting technology in our lives. So when we create, let us take 2 extra steps to go and also participate in the IETF meetings where the standards are built. It is agreed to that this will be accepted as a minimum standards. So can we as Indians also be very clear that yes, if we are not on that discussion table, then we will have to accept the standards, the services that they have designed in the Western world. It's not bad. I am not once going ahead against any of that. I'm only saying that the ethos of humanity, the ethos of accepting, of sharing, of being able to adjust with the resources available, share that, and bring in a harmony in the society is what we can together work for. And when you build tools and technologies, we add that one special something that our tools and our technologies are able to do. While it's very easy that yes, you will build all those components that will be required by larger enterprises. But the other important thing, and we have people who are in the business of skilling. And skill sets for us, we talked about education, then we started to talk about training, and today we're talking about skills. I hope one of you or someone of you will be responding to me. What is the difference between education, training, and skilling? ये एक बहुत, yeah, please.
Education is just theoretical, training is the practical way how you do it. Skill is something you master, something you can say, hard skill or something process by which you can something.
So, good, I accept both the answers.
Education in motion is skill.
Education in motion is skill. Wow, that's another. Anybody else? Bataएं please. Correct. Yes, that was one thing I wanted. Anybody else?
Character building.
Character building. Amazing. Very right. Or?
Skill is about how to do things.
Huh.
Training is about what needs to be done.
Uh-huh.
And education is about why this needs to be done. Education is far deeper, touches character, touches many more dimensions than just the tools that are used in the skill part.
Amazing. Good. और कुछ एक दो और बाकी है, कुछ एक दो चीज़ें और बाकी हैं, बताएं.
Fresher, experience, expertise.
Okay, accepted. What else? और कुछ बाकी है, नहीं? अच्छा. Education is when you are building the capability in a young mind to be able to learn something new. So science, maths, technology, हम geography सब कुछ पढ़ाते हैं. Why? Because the child needs to understand his complete environment, the complete set, right? So हम geography क्यों भूल गए और हम history क्यों भूल गए, by the way? So what is really important is we try and build a complete information base, a knowledge base in our children to then make a choice कि आगे वो किस path को adopt करेंगे, how they will grow and how they will participate in the society at large, correct? So that was education, basic. It doesn't tell you कि आप engineer ही बनोगे या doctor ही बनोगे, नहीं, it doesn't give you that, right? But it allows a child to understand the basics for him or her to be able to then adapt or accept or create something new. Then we get into the graduation and post-graduation. What is it that for? What does it do?
Basically knowledge, understanding and application.
Okay, good. और कुछ?
Nothing except teaching theoretical subjects. 60 subjects are only useful in the practical part.
This is the new answer that every child will give. But that was the traditional approach to how we have structured our entire education system. कि पहले बेस बना लो, फिर ठीक है एक्सप्लोर करके देखो कि where you will be able to, where your personal strengths are, and then you go ahead and get into making a life livelihood के लिए you make a choice, right? That was our traditional platform. That is no more true for the new generation. Very rightly said, they are born with certain information, knowledge, and right or wrong, they know what they want to do. Most of them will say, pata hai, mujhe pata hai. I know. This is the answer all of you are receiving at your homes. Why? Because they always think, अरे यार, such an old hat, इतना time कौन बर्बाद करेगा इसको करने के लिए? Why do I take these 10 steps before I am able to really do? I can explore. I know I can do it faster. And believe me, from our experience, some of these youngsters, we say 6 to 8, 9 to 10, and 11 to 12, and then onwards. All these bars have now been completely attacked. We now see innovation happening at any stage, at any place, from any end. When Dr. Sheetal mentioned that NELIT's intent, National Electronics Information Technology, so that's the institution that we have created, that has its instances, its presence across the country in 56 centers are there. Why are we now talking about centers? It's a new world. We are all on the internet, and internet can deliver everything. Is it true? Any educator here in this team, in this group? Yeah, tell us. Can we replace the educators, and what is the job of the educator, and why is the educator not happy nowadays? तीनों सवाल के जवाब आप दीजिए. हाँ. हाँ. Nowadays they are in trouble. वो बताइए.
Yeah, that is because the sad turn of events that has happened after or during COVID was that everyone felt that YouTube and internet can teach them what needs to be taught. Unfortunately, students think that that is what it is. And while the internet does offer a lot of information on the internet is biased, is not correct, and can be misleading.
It is not regulated, not structured.
Exactly. And that is where an educator brings in that distinction.
Okay.
But that part or that contribution of an educator is lost to numerous people and many leaders also. And you also had a third point.
Yeah, I heard both of yours, and I will say yes and no to both actually. I don't fully agree to what you have stated, but yes, that is one part of it. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, I have a different thinking about it because educators today are not equipped. What have they learned? They have learned the intelligence. They are intelligent, but there's a difference between intelligent and intelligence. You know, intelligent are the people who gather the information and give it to others. Whereas intelligence is a part which does not need any outside information to you to be distributed. Whereas the teachers today, everywhere in the world, feel whatever they have written in the past. Past has already gone. New things are coming. I'll give you another example. I was with my student parent teacher meeting, and there was this student who has been being scolded by the parents as well as the teachers, saying, "Tumhari handwriting theek nahi hai, your spellings are not good." And the child was listening it. And when they came out, the parents was very, very unhappy with the child. And the child said, "Why I need to learn the spelling? Because there is a spell check is already available." Right? So there is a difference between
good
what
point.
is happening today.
Good point. आपने उस मुद्दे को ले आए हैं आप जो मैं ला. So we cannot blame the children. The information that we are serving them in the classrooms are already being received by them through various sources. इसलिए आप अगर फिर वही परोसेंगी in your classrooms, you are repeating the same, they are not interested. We as educators, our roles have changed. We are now there only to guide them to solve a problem. So that today's children, they need to be challenged. So when you go to your classrooms, please go prepared with, first of all, problem statements that you would have identified which are local, that they can all identify with, and invite your students to jointly with you solve those problems, because those are the challenges that we are able to get. Because today, even ours, our attention span is less than 15 seconds. Up 15 seconds mein, if you are expecting to just give some rote content, some simple content, and take my mind, my eyes, my ears, my everything under your, it doesn't happen. How it happens? It happens when we challenge them. Everybody loves to, even today, I think we all love to go and solve a puzzle or attempt something. So we today are seeing the next next generation, which is very prepared to say, I know how to apply my presence in this society today. I would like to experiment and see if I can do something. I would love to make that little difference. So as a child, as a baby, a 5-year-old, up to 5-year-old, we allow exploration in our children. We allow them and we're very happy. We celebrate those explorations. But the minute we put them in school, which is an industrialized form of education, we want to lock their enthusiasm to explore, to find out something new. That inquisitiveness, we start to lock them. You are only required to give us a top score. Go to the next, go to the next. So I have started to say, let's really look at the actual abilities that our students have. And so we have now introduced the gamification model of knowing your analytical abilities, your managerial activities, your mathematical abilities, and so on and so forth. It is now imperative that we don't build brick and mortar classrooms with benches and one-sided communication that happens. Go ahead, please.
I just want to say, doesn't that mean the evaluation mechanism should also change? When all teachers get produced?
Yes, I totally agree.
Analytically, like the managerial skills, and if you have a theory paper, they have given 40 marks question and you cannot give a 40 marks.
Correct. So, agreed. Yes, I agree with you. So, if you go back to the NALIT model, because that's the only playground I have today. Yes. How soon can it happen, madam? All of you. That's the reason I said you all are the leaders. Because if you accept, if you become a partner, it can happen. But as a whole, we only say, nahi baba, system ke hisab se ye naukri isse milegi, and we give it. We are not ready to become a partner in that change that we actually seek. सरकार करेगी, इंडस्ट्री करेगी, स्टार्टअप करेगी, ट्रेनिंग वाले करके देंगे, एजुकेशन में स्कूल वाले क्यों नहीं करते? So what I'm only trying to, my only purpose of coming today was to just tell you all that we believe in every new idea that you think we in the government should look into, adopt, and create the appropriate policies that would help you. If you look at our Data Protection Act, you will see that the intent is very clear. We are now looking for many of you to say we have made those tools, those applications in the phones which will allow the citizen to make a call of how much data for how long can be used. We have those principles already laid out. So, her principle ko actually ground implementation ke liye will need partners. We have made the rules, but who will make those tools? Yes, please go ahead.
Ma'am, I would like to kind of stress a little bit is I've heard all the speakers. What we're missing, we're focusing is strong on sovereignty, but not on sustainability. We're focusing a lot on progress and development, but not on harmony. It's very much needed right across.
Yes.
We are missing this in our policies. A new field is coming out. We should be thinking how we should inculcate in those. Thank you.
Yeah, that's the reason why I did not again take the same line and continue with this talk that I had actually prepared. When I came here, when I heard all of them, I realized they all know exactly what their role is to be able to make that difference. Now, when I am facing you all are the key people actually. In the end, the large enterprises, we don't know how far, how much we will be able to cater to those smaller tools and technologies that fall in the gap. We have a large something, so there will be a scale larger, and therefore there are smaller interfaces, smaller use cases that are falling from the gap. So as MSMEs, I personally am here to request you all to, yes, cater to the industrial demand, to the need of the markets, to building your own institutions that will be able to get the right ROI. But we always forget humans in between. जो आपने अभी just कहा, the harmony. Harmony तो तब आएगा when we accept all. So some of them, so India is the best example, जहाँ हम हिंदी, तेलुगु, तमिल, मराठी, हर भाषा को मानते हैं, समझते हैं, and we have tried in the government system, we are trying to give equal weightage. And I hope we are not 100% there, but in this journey, if you all participate, every use case, every application that you all develop, आप अगर ये सोचिए कि ये अंग्रेज़ी भाषा में नहीं, लेकिन मैं किसी अपनी भाषा में उसको क्रिएट करूं, उसकी एक्सेस दूं, ताकि वो जो अंग्रेज़ी नहीं जानते या नहीं जानना या इस्तेमाल करना चाहते हैं, क्या वो हमारी डेवलपमेंट से, हमारे इससे वंचित रह जाएं, छूट जाएं. So therefore, when every application that you create, can you think of that person who will not know English, who are not they are not even the first generation of the digital citizens of this country. They may not know the language, but your tool, yours as application should be intuitive enough. हम लोग सब क्यों ये फ़ोन तो वो जो सब्ज़ी बेचता है वो भी हमने उसको तो नहीं सिखाया. But that tool was that intuitive and useful that it became very easily adopted by the entire country. So जब भी आप कोई भी application बनाए, while we are today focused to semiconductors, and we are talking about the need for you all participating for building those smaller components that are required. What is also important that some of you understand that today 3D printing and additive manufacturing are a new technology that you may like to explore for semiconductor ecosystem. You may like to explore getting into the material science, exploring whether we can look at the periodic table and find that metal, that ore that is present in this country but is not being used, has not been explored to perform those functions. The characteristics have not been mapped to give the similar performance, the similar response. We here need to start looking at what we in India have. So we talked about ore to orbit in one of my talks, where we discussed how India lost that battle, why we lost that first race for uranium, and while we were the source, but we are not acknowledged. So similarly, in the semiconductor space again, we need to look at exploring those other ventures and opportunities that we have not looked at. We have turned menu-based humans now. There's a menu which says this, make your choice and go ahead. As though उस menu के बाहर और कुछ है ही नहीं. We have got mentally trained to only accept what is being given to you. How many times are we looking at, can we do this with a different approach? It would be a little more difficult maybe because it is not available, because we'll have to create it. But we have not gone beyond. So we all have become menu-driven humans. One key-driven, one press-driven humans. What is important, because I see youngsters also here amongst you all, what is important is we become creators from just being users. That is the key word that I would like to impart, not just to all of you MSMEs that you all are already doing, but also to the youngsters, to the educators, to inculcate a habit of exploration, of creation, of synthesis, of examining beyond what is already easily available, for looking at how we in India can bring in the ethos into the entire pedagogy of the teaching learning process, to the training process, to the creation process. And when we say market, or when we say, one example I would like to highlight, employment. We don't think that becoming a professor or a teacher is an employment. I'm pained that when we talk about employment, our researchers are also not listed in the list of employable resources that you're creating. So those are some of the key things that when children come to you, especially to the MSMEs, you have a responsibility. What we will do is facilitate you in a way that you can accept new students to come to your and participate in your work, or whichever exposure that you can create for the youngsters, for the youth. We'll be happy to listen to any amenities that would help you to extend, to open your centers for youngsters, for the youth to explore, to sit with you and see how you all actually are working out, how you all are approaching a certain problem that you have picked up, and what are the different ways that you are looking at. If that is something that you all will commit, we will be very happy to listen to whatever suggestion you have as to how you will enable that to happen. So some of those things we'll be happy to hear from you all. And so I will now close by just saying that I would like to, of course, once again acknowledge and congratulate the PhD Chambers of Commerce and Industry for organizing this timely and significant conference. Yes, and it comes at a very defining moment as the world is now looking to India as to how we will be able to give an alternative approach to adopting semiconductors in our lives. And we are now, of course, the global destination for electronics and manufacturing. Semiconductor design, we've already heard that 1/5 of the world semiconductor designers are from India. And now we are very sure that we want to take over the, assembly, test, marking, and what is the last? Packaging, right? If India wants to take that up, what is it that you all would like to suggest? We have. Yes, we have taken the first step of committing the government's keen focus on bringing that to the country. But you as MSMEs, I'm sure would have some beautiful suggestions or newer ways of at least addressing some of the smaller requirements, as we've already discussed the components, right? And should not forget, I also would like to congratulate the Electronics Sector Skills Council of India under the leadership of Madhavendra Singh ji. I am really, not letting him sit. He is not allowed to sit. He is going to go around the country connecting with all of you, taking the inputs that you all will give us for even those skill sets that you think are not notable. But believe me, we need every small skill set. We are today realizing that with this aim, we need to go back to our, and ensure that our ITIs and polytechnics are very, very well skilled. They are the ones who will run most of the industries that we are creating now. So therefore, and the other thing that was very well articulated by Dr. Sheetal was, we know that the innovators are sitting somewhere in some corner. And we, as Government of India, NILIT, is making sure that the opportunities of accessing the right skill sets, education, is made available to whoever has that, yearning to be able to contribute in the national development. So I would once again thank each one of you for giving such a patient learning and participating in teaching me what I should learn and maybe go back and then apply. I would appreciate the proceedings of this, because we are going to be having a whole day of technical sessions also. I unfortunately may not be able to attend them, but I am very keen to then get a report complete of the proceedings of the entire event today, which can come into a some kind of a understanding that the MSMEs we are ready to participate and give us some suggestions, both for skilling as well as for the ecosystem of semiconductors today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Your keynote address has provided valuable insights into the Government of India's vision for building a resilient, globally competitive, and innovation-driven semiconductor ecosystem. I would now like to once again invite on stage Dr. Jitendra Singh to formally propose a vote of thanks and acknowledge our dignitaries. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. In fact, at the outset, I would like to propose hearty vote of thanks to Ms. Tulika Pandey for sharing her perspective with the audience. As you rightly said, normally, our narratives, our conversations are more on the fringes, and we miss out the larger segment that is the foundation. So, and also about the ethos, and you actually made us understand the definition of sovereignty, the essence of sovereignty. And that was really a thought leader perspective, I would say, and thank you very much for invoking that particular sense that everything, whatever we see, the foundations need to be very strong, which are built on, ethos, which are built on trust, responsibility, and credibility. Thank you very much. I'd like to thank Mr. Madhvendra Singh ji for sparing his time for this important conference, because at the end of the day, everything boils down to human capital. And if our human capital is skilled, if they are efficient, if they have those skill sets in order to manufacture, to produce, to manufacture semiconductors, fabricate them, to package them, then only we can see at the end of the day that we are becoming somewhat more self dominant in the semiconductor ecosystem. Thank you to Sheetal ma'am for giving NILET perspective, and NILET actually connect the dots between the educators, between the startups, between the academia and the industry. And with your all centers spanning across India, I am sure that more and more people will actually come for more understanding of the semiconductor business, about the technical skills, and you are one of the centers of the excellence that will actually cater to the aspiring needs of the youth as well as the needs of the country as such. And thank you to Karanji for your time also. I know, like running a 1,000 crore enterprise, you are sitting here while your mind is in the assembly line. कि सब ठीक चल रहा है, कहीं कोई रुक तो नहीं गया. So thank you very much for actually giving that walk the talk thing rather than just a sort of a theoretical thing. And जैसे मैंने आपने बोला कि संवाद से शुरू करना चाहिए सब कुछ, and संवाद, the conversation is more important. Otherwise it becomes more philosophical, more theoretical. But the way you ignited everybody to go more deep, go for more introspection, that actually one of the important, I'll say, the turning points of the inaugural session. So thank you very much. On behalf of Phdcci, I welcome and thank all of you and also our audience for being a very, very important and pertinent part of this conference. Thank you very much. And
thank you, sir. As we conclude the inaugural segment of today's conference, it is now time to honor our distinguished dignitaries for their invaluable presence, inspiring addresses, and continued contribution towards strengthening India's semiconductor and electronics ecosystem. For the felicitation ceremony, I would now like to invite our senior office bearers, Dr. Jitendra Singh and Shri Karan Mangla sir, to kindly come forward for the felicitation process. I request Shri Madhvendra Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Electronic Sector Skills Council of India, for his insightful special address and for his continued leadership in strengthening India's electronics and semiconductor workforce. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable presence today. I also request Ms. Sheetal Chopra, Director General, National Institute of Electronics and Information Technology. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your valuable presence today and sharing your valuable insights with our audiences. Can we have a huge round of applause? I would now also request and extend our gratitude to Ms. Tulika Pandey, Scientist G and Group Coordinator, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India. Thank you so much, ma'am, for taking out time to be present with her today and also for sharing your valuable insights. I would request all our dignitaries to please assemble for a formal photograph. Industry, academia, and the skilling ecosystem to discuss the strategies required for creating a future-ready semiconductor workforce aligned with the aspirations of India's Semiconductor Mission 2.0. Ladies and gentlemen, please, I request to all of you to remain seated as we begin technical session 1. Ladies and gentlemen, I kindly request you all to please remain seated as you begin technical session 1. Thank you. I request all the audience to please remain seated as we are to begin technical session 1. Is a distinguished professional with extensive experience across the armed forces, government leadership, and strategic advisory roles. He holds a B.Tech in Electric and Electronics Engineering from JNU Delhi and an M.Tech in Radio Frequency Design and Technology with specialization in signal processing from the Indian Institute of Technology, Delhi. He also possesses an MBA degree from JBIMS, an alumnus of Cornell University, Queen Mary University, London, Yeshu Academy, South Korea, and IIHL, Italy. He served in the Indian Navy from 1997 to 2019, where he held multiple leadership positions and developed deep expertise in operations, advanced weapons, and electronic technologies and strategic oversight. With his extensive experience, Srimad Virendra Singh has been instrumental in strengthening India's electronics and semiconductor talent ecosystem. To moderate this session, we are privileged to have you, sir. I request the audience to kindly acknowledge and give a huge round of applause for our moderator. I request everyone to please take their respective seats. May I now request our distinguished panelists to kindly join the moderator on the dais. May I first invite Shri Surendra Singh, Scientist E, Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology, Government of India, to kindly join us. Okay, he's not there. Okay. I request Shri Varun Manvani. I invite Shri Varun Manvani, Director, Sahasra Group. A dynamic entrepreneur and business leader, Shri Varun Manvani has played a significant role in expanding India's electronics manufacturing capabilities while contributing to the country's growing semiconductor ecosystem. Can we have a huge round of applause? I also invite Shri N.K. Mohapatra. I invite Shri N.K. Mohapatra over the dais. A respected industry leader, Shri Mohapatra has been at the forefront of developing advanced skill development ecosystems, integrating emerging technologies and promoting industry-oriented workforce development across India. Can we have a huge round of applause here again? I would also like to invite Dr. Ashwini Agarwal, an accomplished academician and semiconductor expert. Dr. Agarwal has been actively contributing towards strengthening semiconductor education, curriculum development, and industry-academia collaboration to build India's future talent pipeline. Can we have a huge round of applause? I would also like to invite Dr. Sankalp Singh, With his extensive experience in academic industry engagement, Dr. Sankalp Singh works closely with universities across India to strengthen semiconductor design education and prepare students for careers in advanced chip design and electronic design automation. Can we have a huge round of applause, please? I would also like to invite Dr. Sandeep Garg on the stage, please. With his extensive knowledge and his continued support to innovation towards semiconductor, he is also a valuable participant in the panel. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. I think we should now close the doors. After that very passionate, elaborate discussions inaugural we had, thank you everyone for staying back. This is my pleasure to present to you a panel of highly distinguished professionals and really stalwarts in their particular fields of work. So once again, just to keep you posted, Dr. Ashwini Agrawal, Mr. N.K. Mahapatra, Dr. Sandeep Garg, Dr. Sankalp Singh, and Dr. Varun Manmani. Oh, you know, okay, Mr. Varun Manmani. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here. This is really also, as I mentioned in the inaugural also, today is the World Youth Skills Day also. And in fact, we have an event waiting for us. So for the paucity of time, maybe I don't know if we have 60 minutes to go with, or, yeah, we do? Okay. Thank you so much. Because gentlemen, we are seeing this very rewarding transformation happening in India with the semiconductor, ATMP and fab. We seeing almost 13 these projects getting the sanction from the government with investments of almost $20 billion looking into 130 and demand for almost 400,000 people with a supply chain of more than 1.2 million people required. So with that narrative, and in fact, there have been a lot of discussions how the foreign investors are waiting at the gate with the foot in the door, but only restrained by the fact that there is no skilled manpower for them to come and establish. So the government is willing to do everything possible. You have heard from the horse's mouth that how many programs are being rolled out. So with this distinguished panel that we have, we're going to focus on the three main issues. We touched upon a little bit, got an appetite of why the education is good, but it's not certainly enough for the industry to meet the requirements of the skilled talent. Now, we're going to focus on how the whole semiconductor, ATMP and fab is scaling up in India, and what is it that's attracting the foreign investors to come. And third, we are talking about the historical precedents that India has had. Are we really prepared, or is it only in print and media that we're hearing that we have arrived? So let's hear from the stalwarts themselves how the things are going. So starting in an alphabetical order with Dr. Ashwini Agrawal. Sir, we've also heard there is a very good saying, they say that the capital follows the talent. And frankly speaking, मुझे तो लगता है कि Three Idiots was made to promote Skill India actually. You know, sir, can you tell us that what kind of a industry development are we talking about? Because with the 13 projects and these kind of investments, Dr. Ashwini Agrawal, sir. So, what is the scale currently in India that we are talking about? What are the numbers looking at? 2030 projections तो हम देख रहे हैं, but what do you think is currently the status is, and what do you think the projections for 2030 looks like for the industry?
See, actually, in terms of the market size, I think it is exploding out as you know, sheer numbers. We are a 4 trillion economy. We will be a 10 trillion economy by 2035. We will be adding about $1 trillion every year somewhere in 2030s as we look at the current momentum. The semiconductor global will be somewhere around $1.5 trillion. That was one projection, but I think it will possibly cross it. The India demand is for semiconductors will be 200 billion, but these are all numbers. Okay, the issue, friends, I don't think is actually the numbers. India has the numbers. What it needs is actually industry-ready workforce. That is the real challenge. We have to move our emerging workforce from a classroom training into a skill-based training. That is very critical, from a handbook training to a hands-on training. Okay, it has to move from PowerPoints to practice. It has to actually move from a degree-based training to competence-based training. Skills are very critical. So the role of SKI in that is tremendous. Our biggest challenge is making that happen. We have created, with the interventions of all the global leaders here, they are a part of the semiconductor skill committee, the manufacturing skill committee. I think the notes, the curriculums that have been made are really amazing. Your teams put it out. Diffusing it in the system is a challenge because most people end up going back to teaching the same theory-based approaches. That's the reality. We have conducted workshops, some changes are happening. We need to do a lot more. That's the challenge, the creation of the industry-ready workforce.
Thank you, sir. I mean, this is pretty interesting to know that the scales are big, but we really need the people, like I coined this word, I don't know if it's suitable for the industry, day one job ready. Even do you think this is practical, day one job ready? Because I spoke to a few people, maybe Dr. Mohapatra sir, can we talk to you? First, tell us that, do you think that this is a practical, achievable thing, day one job ready? And who are our contemporaries? And vis-a-vis the global giants in the semiconductor fab, where do we stand? And do you think that 2030, 2047 Atmanirbharta is achievable for us?
No. See, day one job ready is the easiest thing to do, as long as we know what is the job. The question is, there has to be good and decent interaction with the industry to understand their job readiness. Now we have 12, 13 projects. We don't know which project is going to take off when, which manpower they need when. If we have the clarity on their manpower requirements, it is very, 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 very easy because it's a structured environment. All the semiconductor investments are taking 2, 3 years, up to 5 years to be rolled out. So if I know the rollout requirements, I know well in advance when he will need a person in 2 years or 2.5 years and 3 years. I am not able to do it in 2 years, 2.5 years. I cannot believe that I can't do it. I will always do it. It's not the problem. Problem is something else. Problem is the numbers are so small. The variety of investment which are coming, they are so small. I may not get a batch size. So when you get into structured training, you get into some investment, you get into some training partner doing something, or you get setting up a facility, you need a minimum batch size. When you do that, that batch size may not get consumed with respect to time. And the varieties are too many. So you have a problem to solve. Too small, too much of variety, timeline uncertain. These are the complexities rather than getting job ready in time.
So I think that problem of, you're talking about the sustainability and also the scale, is currently we are in a situation where we can't really...
Beyond 230, the scenario will change.
Will change.
From today to 230, 2030, we are going to handle this in some way or other. But like EMS industry matured. Now we know the broad pipeline. I do 500 training, I know where they will go. Semicon is not done that way till date. Yeah. Till 26, 27 happen, some early startups, they cover up something, is fine. But there is a bigger thing than just supplying manpower to this 12 or 13 factories which are coming up in terms of investment. Semiconductor needs a much bigger ecosystem of talents which is beyond this factory requirements. You know what is happening in GCC, you know how many design engineers are working, whether we have the industry or not. We have people working in semiconductor design in this country, and we are having 20% of the design engineers in the country working for global companies. This will continue to happen. Global companies are investing in Indian talent, whether the industry is here to manufacture or not, they don't care. So the talent, utilization, development, everything is happening. If India wants to be self-reliant, we need to really think beyond semicon towards a product base. If we don't create a semiconductor product, like I expect L&T or somebody will take a lead in this, we have to create product-based companies. If we create product-based companies, then the demand is ours.
Yeah,
unfortunately, this 65% demand does not require 2-3 nanometer chips. That 65% demand, which is strategic electronics from automotive to defense to aerospace to industrial electronics, they can be all done through local product development.
That's right.
Which is ours.
Speaking with
we need to do that rather than look into these 13 companies investing and supplying manpower to them. We have to supply manpower to that broader requirement of tomorrow.
That's true. In fact, Bharat Electronics, they've just produced 40 nanos. I think the best India has got so far is 12 nanos.
We have demand for those.
Yeah, but the world is at 1 angstrom, so I don't know how much time it's going to take. So, Dr. Garg, I mean, Dr. Sandeep Garg, you have been, yours is a flagship program for India. I mean, did you miss the bus in ISM 1.0? How eagerly are you waiting for 2.0?
I think it should happen now.
Yeah.
Because
in a week's time, maybe.
We don't know. You see, sometimes from February to August, July, August, it's say tomorrow, but it is not seeing the light of the day. I think the first challenge is to come out with a clear policy direction. When you announce a project, I remember in 2025 Semicon, we said the Semicon 2.0 is getting announced. It took 5-6 months to get a Semicon 2 announced in February on the budget day. Then it is still pending, and we do not know when the scheme would emerge. You see, let me be very clear, and I make it a very strong point. All business decisions are not permanent. If there is a money on the table, the money can shift from one table to another in no matter of time. We are holding on to this project for almost 1.5 years. Initially the tech partners was rejected, and then we identified second tech partner. But the tech partner also has a timeline. I think the basic challenge in the entire ecosystem is that the timelines of the project need to be defined. It cannot be a semiconductor. Let me give you one colloquial example. Look from, I stated this in the Minister of Electronics also some time back, 4 years back. We have to take it as an infrastructure project. We create a business line and a product line of $15 billion if you want to create a hydropower plant. If you want to create a steel plant, we want to create anything capital intensive project, it has to be a time-bound project. We cannot announce a scheme that with a flip of a coin semiconductor would emerge. I think that's a completely a nuance which cannot be tackled at this magnitude. Talking of, when we didn't have a steel plant, only Tata steel plant was operating. Then we had steel plant, we had engineering plant, we had automotive sector. Everything has come up to the automotive sector. We are the 4th largest. In solar, we will become, maybe next year will become the 2nd largest in terms of the utilization. So scaling follows where the industry is. Today how many 13 plants have come? I think Mopatraji very clearly mentioned. We are following a practice that we will be talking about skilling. Skilling would emerge. I'm pretty sure. I have traveled almost every country which makes semiconductors. I have seen many Indians working there. They are also waiting, sometime would emerge and people will flock back. But I think the key challenge currently is the hardware which he mentioned, and the skill will follow.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Garg. I think you have given us a new mantra now. The capital follows the talent. Now the talent follows the industry. That's a good one. Dr. Sankalp Singh, you are into the EDA sector with the design. Two things. One is, do you think the design is capable for transitioning into the fab directly? What kind of efforts are required, and what's your point of view with respect to the design-linked incentives policy if the government was to roll out?
Okay, so first of all, thank you everyone here. I would like to say that we do have these things available right now, right? You would have heard or seen in social media where Minister himself have gone and said that ARM is doing this, other stakeholders are doing this, right? So that narrowing down or following the Moore's law, that is possible. Are we doing it at India's level, making it more India-centric thing? It all depends with Tata's fab coming up and other Indian conglomerates joining this race, right? So everyone here previous to this session and now Mahapatra sir also said that we have 20% workforce in the design sector, right? So we don't have that problem. Coming to the second part, which is the DLI part, right? DLI was rolled out almost 2.5 years back. Now we are in the 3rd year. We are seeing that 100+ institutions are already part of the DLI scheme. From that, 24 are now part of PDLI, right? So the model changes once I'll say you graduate from one level to another, the model changes, right? And we are seeing that these 24s are actually talking about some product. So we are seeing a transition happening in that space. But we have that conservative mindset that if I am giving out money, we need a ROI for that. And that is always a case where in semiconductor, we don't see this happening, right? If there are 100 startups, you may see one startup becoming a big unicorn kind of a thing. The only thing is, how do we take that journey? How do we go along with them? That is very important.
Very well answered. In fact, that is what sometimes it's not, sometimes the building the market itself is a good marketing strategy. And then, of course, the semiconductor fab itself has a big initial capex barrier. So setting up those kind of full facilities would require a lot of money. Coming to Varun, I mean, we are really proud of you. You are one of the first indigenous companies who have had the courage to go full-fledged. First indigenous one, that's what. In Phdcci, they have a big plant, which is really the flagship project for India as well when it comes to indigenous fab, and ATMP also. So Varun, you can tell us two things actually for the audience also. People who are willing to start something, did you really have a vision that led you do this? You set up something like this? And secondly, now that you have done, you are like in the middle of it, what challenges do you feel from both the policy perspective and the implementation? And the skills also.
Yeah, thank you Madhvinderji, and thank you ESSCI for inviting me on this panel. I think by design you had me sit next to you, but gave me the question last.
The next one is the first one, you will be the first one.
Sure, I will definitely try to be the first one. So, before I answer your question, and the question where you're saying challenges, I don't think I want to address challenges because there are zillion challenges, right? So let's not talk about challenges. It's greenfield not for us, it's greenfield for the country. India as a country has not been in the semiconductor domain at all. So challenges are but known. Taking up from what Dr. Garg said, I think he said capital flows when the, or rather manpower flows where the capital flows.
Skill flows where the industry is.
Exactly, absolutely right. I'll take it a notch above. Manpower will flow where capital flow where business flows. And if I summarize the situation today, which is also to some extent what Mr. Mahapatra said, yes, we should look at it from a product standpoint, because if we continue to just be building for others, we're going to have this problem of competing with everybody across the globe. And we are a beginner in this, so that challenge will remain. So the issue is business today. While we are one of the first ones to start, today we have 40 people. Do I need more? I don't need more. Why do I not need more? Because I need more business.
That's right. Yeah.
So my friend sitting across the table who's smiling, let's take the example of the CCTV industry, because he's participating in that industry and so am I. Now I believe so, I've heard from some numbers. The current market for cameras in the country is about 600 million units a year. Now these are all sorts of cameras, PTZs, digital, analog, IP, etc., etc. Now there is a demand for memory and SoC in this particular space. If the government says, and whenever one of us is ready to whatever extent, that come what may, the camera SoC and the camera memory will only be done in India. Not naming any company, not him, not me, but saying this will only be done in India. That day I will go from 40 to 400 because I've already built my facility for 400, 600.
That's true.
So the challenge is the business. The challenge is not anything else. A lot of us who may have been to China, if you just go to Shenzhen, for example, you will see that all the taxis are EVs. Okay, for whatever reason, we won't get into details, but they all belong to BYD. At least majority do. BYD इतना बड़ा हो गया, कैसे हो गया? आप numbers दोगे, बाकी सब follow करेगा. Now numbers बाहर से नहीं आएंगे. At least we should start ourselves as a cluster, as a group working together. See, we talk about, the topic is sovereignty. Yet we are depending on everybody for everything when we have everything in our back door or in our backyard. So when we have the numbers today, India's biggest position as compared to the competing nations across the world in the semiconductor ecosystem is twofold. We have a market today which everybody is eyeing and vying for, and we have this huge talent pool. So there is no problem on manpower. I disagree. India is such a populous country. The problem is skill gap. Again, I disagree, because if you take the likes of NXP, ST Micro, Infineon, and then coming to the memory segment, take Micron, WD, SanDisk, they all have mammoth operations in India, 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 engineers, probably larger than their home countries. So where is the problem of manpower? Where is the problem of skilling? All of these companies are enjoying the benefit of this country, which we are not able to enjoy, because we're not giving the market to ourselves. Today, I'm proud but unhappy about the fact that 65% of my revenue comes from exports, so I'm proud. But I'm unhappy that I'm only getting 35% from my home market, because I'm not getting opportunity. I will not name the company, and sorry, I'm taking a little time. So there is a current tender that we are working on. Not the tender, we are part of the supply chain in that tender, where it's a CCTV camera tender. It's about 52,000 units, so volume-wise not a big deal. But in the memory segment where we participate, the ASPs are very high. So it's about a 20 crore project for us. I mean, we're clearly being told, because we're the only ones with Make in India, but we're clearly being told, yaar, wo China se sasta aa raha hai. I should shut shop and become a trader. So the incentive is to become a trader, not a manufacturer. The topic, please, I'm sorry, but it's not skilling, manpower, etc. And again, Mr. Mohapatra said the right thing. Today, EMS industry, and we are also an EMS company, I think, correct me, but there might be 10,000 SMT lines in the country, right? Around that number, maybe more. So if you look at 10,000 SMT lines, these lines are absolutely sophisticated, by the way, right? They have extremely high-end software to operate the machines. They are all Japanese, etc. I don't think we ever talk about manpower for the EMS industry. Yaar, SMT line ka operator kahan aayega? So why are we worried about a wire bond operator or a die bond operator? The biggest skill is practice. If you practice, things will work.
True that.
Sorry for that.
Just paucity of time. I mean, I'll come back to you. Just on a lighter note before you finish, is anyone in the world still using less than 1 gig memories?
On the NOR flash side, yes. And there are companies who are still asking us for 4 gig, which we are supplying to a customer in Germany.
Okay.
Because when you talk about sovereignty, Taiwan does not want to supply to this company because they want to supply higher gig. But we are supplying the 4 gig.
Okay.
So there are so many opportunities available.
Yeah, that's good. So, well, you said it pretty well. I mean, there is no dearth of...
Sorry, so we're not ready for HBM. So we should not target HBM. We should target what is available for us. And the low-hanging fruit, if you look at drones, CCTV cameras, dash cams, they all require memory. If you again in the CCTV system look at NVRs, they require storage memory, which means SSDs. And not all of them have to be enterprise grade. So there is a demand for SSDs, and SSDs will require tons of chips. So why not? I think the entire think tank has to get together collaboratively and look at opportunities available here through aggregation of our own market demand. That is what will fuel the growth of the entire ecosystem in the country.
That's true. In fact, we all know that how the whole global IT industry was being served by the low-wage Indian IT industry. And they have lived its life. Unfortunately, the horse is old now. But coming to the manpower, Varun, in fact, before I proceed to that question, I would just like to, for the interest of the audience, I mean, not announce, but tell you that how the whole cluster thing is working in Bhiwadi very beautifully. Minister Ashwini ji and Bhupender Yadav ji, Chief Minister of Rajasthan, they all came down to inaugurate that facility there, the whole cluster, and Sahasra Semiconductors as well. And in fact, so what we have also done as a skilling council is that we have set up a common utility center. And what we are intending to do is 2 things. One is prepare the testing facilities for the companies like Sahasra and others who really could not, I mean, they do have the capex to invest, but collectively we can provide a common facility so that at least they can take the benefit of that. And second thing is, of course, identifying the critical skills required for the cluster itself and meet the skilling requirements from there itself. So I think that's a model which we are also doing for all the other electronic manufacturing clusters. So Varun, that despite sitting closest to me, I think I have asked you the last question, but now I'll begin with you. Tell me, I mean, where did you find what do you think, I mean, with all the people that you're hiring, you're going to hire ahead when the market evolves, what are the critical skills for the sector? What do you think are the critical skills so that we can start preparing our people right now so they're ready like in a year or 2 or 5 or whatever?
So firstly, I'm glad and thankful to you guys for being next to us. That really supports us. We've picked up about 30 odd people from the for our EMS operation also from the ESSES center, and we definitely want to pick up more for semiconductor as well. Let me categorize, at least from our operation standpoint. Other 10, 12 operations may have a different approach, but if I categorize it from our operation standpoint, there are 4 categories. So one is at the floor operation level, operators who operate the equipment, run the machines. So that's one area. The second is you need in the semiconductor industry, you need a lot of people to maintain the equipment and very frequently, and not only the equipment but also maintain all your utilities. Ideally, a semiconductor unit should never really be powered off, but one has to do that sometimes considering the production load that we have. The third is that there are process teams who are looking at the process, not from on the actual floor, but developing the process, developing the tools, and developing the materials that get into the process. And the fourth, I would say, is on the design side. Now, the design, again, I'm not necessarily talking about core design of developing a semiconductor chip, but designing your materials that get into the process. So it could be a substrate, it could be a lead frame, it could be choosing the right kind of wire that you need. It's 0.8 mil, 0.7 mil, 1 mil, should be a copper wire, gold wire, etc. So designing the process and materials around it is very critical. Now, we today have a mix of some people who are from overseas, and that might be the only category who are day one ready to some extent. The others we've picked up from some companies who were closest to semiconductor, or one or companies who were in the semiconductor space at a very small scale. And then others we have groomed ourselves.
You trained them after you got
Yeah, I mean, we were born before ISM was born. So a lot of these schemes, systems, and everything that's being spoken about, nothing was there. And this is where I'll address the question that you had initially of me. So we've been a player in the solid state memory business in 2016. We were supplying a NAND flash memory to Sony. And during the discussions with them is when we came up with the idea that to further indigenize, we should get into packaging. So that was how it came about. Sony couldn't quit this particular industry. We continued, and therefore we continued with the plan. And therefore we are pretty sure about our plan to move forward in the memory storage business. When we speak about 1 trillion economy by 2030, 1 trillion semiconductor market by 2030, it will actually become a 1 trillion market this year itself. And majority of it is going to be driven by memory. Now, all sorts of memory. So about 35-40% will memory. So it's a good space to be in. The demand is always going to be there. And today, fortunes of companies are being, they're going rapidly up and down within the semiconductor space. So I agree with whoever said it on the panel that semiconductor requires infrastructure, rating, right? So it has to be given special status from all formats, whether it be customs approvals, it be infrastructure to be built around your facilities. We should be given, don't put the NSG at our location, but give us a status which is next to none.
So yours is a story of true grit and persistence. Of course, it's not easy to sustain in a market like this, but you have been able to do that so far. In fact, that your answer actually naturally flows into the next question with Dr. Sankalp. So when it comes to the design part of it, The one thing we would like to understand from you is where do you see the largest appetite is in the academia or the corporates? Are there any local IP designs also which are coming out from the sector? So and what's the model that you are looking at to create this market capacity?
Okay, so I would like to take a step back. We know that there are some 6-7 major players, right, in terms of countries. US, Taiwan, South Korea, and everyone has taken one piece, right? If you say South Korea, they are all in memory space, right? If you say US, they are in the chip architecture, the EDAs, the AI accelerator and all those things. India also can play a major role here, right? They can have their own thing carved out. They don't have to be saying that we want to do everything, right? And we have the appetite as a local end user. So coming to your point, it is not just the academia or the corporate who wants these things. When I go to academic institutions, first thing what I get is, can we get problem statements from industry, right? Which is a fair ask, but at the same time, I always tell them, why don't you look things around you? It is already available. He just mentioned about the camera module, right? We have been seeing all these things happening for a very long time. But why an academic institution is not working in this space, saying that I want to build the SOC and then partner with companies like Varun's or L&T or other stakeholders within India? So that is where that missing link is there. Academia can always do the moonshot projects. They can do the proof of concept. They can do the prototyping. And don't worry that if we fail, what happens, right? But with larger giants, multinationals, they always have a timeline that we need to do this, and there are huge investment involved in that. So if something goes wrong, then a lot of things are at stake, right? But that can be passed on to academic institutions, and there are a lot of things which can be done.
Very true. I mean, could you also tell us how does partnering with institutions like the Skill Council really leverages and accelerate the whole process for skilling?
So if we see right now, and I'm taking from the academic point of view first, we have this C2S program, Chip to Startup program. Right now there are close to 400 odd organizations part of this. But, and this program was for 100 institutions. 100 institutions doing some actual work, but apart from that, it is more on workforce development, talent generation. But no one is stopping these 101 to 400 to think on that product line, saying that, hey, if you want to start, now that you have access to all the facilities, no one is stopping them. But the approach here is, because faculties, I'll go back to the same conversation, that faculties are still teaching the 20-year-old notes, the handouts, the PPTs, what you and me have studied, right? It is still the same.
Not my partner.
So it's still the same, right?
Absolutely.
So we have to take that step further.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
that is where partnering with ESSCI, especially with tier 2, tier 3 organization, and ramping them up, so that they can also think bigger, and then the same thing will translate into the DLI, that startup ecosystem which is evolving, because they also need the workforce, right? So this can be a good segue into that.
Very well said. In fact, the intelligence is not really confined to only tier 1 cities. Questions maybe we'll take at the end of it, please, if you don't mind. So, well, I mean, going to Dr. Garg, I mean, we would like to really understand from you that you already 1.5 years you've been waiting to full-fledged. How many people do you have now, and what critical skills are you looking at? Is that availability there in the market for you to absorb people? How do you do your
See, we'll be requiring
hirings?
about 1,400 people when the plant is in full commissioning. Okay. But leave aside that, that's a secondary part of it. Today, if you look at the, in the last 1 year, what I have learned. You require civil construction. And I have roamed around the country. There's hardly anyone who can talk about civil construction in semiconductors. I don't want to elaborate. We have serious problems in the existing projects, and that too related to civil. So are we teaching the skill in the civil related? there is people sitting in this, they are talking about clean room for empty number of years, but there is no taker for clean room even for the solar project. Because what's the easiest way is to import. You said it, and I think Varun and I shared the same ecosystem when he was doing LEDs 10 years ago. Because it is easy to import at a cheaper product or building capacities. 16 to 20,000 import is only on lighting alone, which he was trying to build up an ecosystem in phase 2, which did not happen. I have multiple examples, being on this side of the government and that side of the government. So that's point number 1. Similarly, you take gas. I don't think anybody in the entire country understand the semiconductor gases. If I ask you a chart, how many gases is being utilized in the semiconductor space, I think people will even not be able to name it. People who have been working this space for almost 30 years, they will not be able to name all the gases. We manufacture only 5 out of 32. Okay? So building capacity is a challenge. Second point, gas, then comes civil, then comes chemicals, then the electricity. Everything is a detailed specification with the building capacity. I don't think the institution at our level understand this ecosystem at all. I have traveled across the country to make partnership with ecosystem, starting with ESSCI. I understand this is a big challenge. Building capacity is not a challenge. I fully agree with Varun. If you start a project, talent is existing. Indian talent is loitering abroad in every country. We are building capacity and sending abroad to work there. So I don't think so that's a challenge. Plus, you have great mentors like him, who are building capacities in the institution space. I must compliment, what has been done by both of them in the last 20, 30 years. So that is not a challenge at all. And compliment to SSI, I'm sorry, on this forum, it's a very important institution. The government is important, but outside the government, institution like ESSI is further important to build capacities.
Thank you for that line of motivation also. And in fact, we got a ready-made problem statements from you to take forward. What are the shortcomings and the challenges that we are facing to begin the full-fledged fabs also. So coming to Mr. Mahapatra, sir, you've been into the skilling ecosystem for a very long time. In fact, you were the pioneer with ECCI also. What do you think? He started this, yes. So what do you think was the environment at that point in time when the skilling was concerned, vis-a-vis the government's interventions, and what do you think is happening now? And where do you think 5 years from now we will be when it comes to the skilling ecosystem?
When we did ESSGIA, that was 2014-15 type, government was first time trying to do something called an SQF standards. Skilling was done as people like, as people feel they're right. There was no standard to evaluate the skilling was done right or wrong. So there was an NSQF system which NSCC brought into the country, and every sector like electronics, every other sector was asked to understand that concept of an SQF, standardize skilling in such a manner the outcomes of skill trainings are guaranteed. So this was a big job which ESSC did and every other sector skill council did. Basically standardize and regulate and bring assessment partner, training partner and monitor them and structure this NOS, QPs and things like that, so there are measurable outcome parameters. The training is done on basis of outcome expectations, not input expectations. Inputs are always there, but the training is measured only on basis of 100% outcome is the NSQF. So we did that right, and probably ESSC did it faster than anybody else because we had good industry interaction, we worked pretty well, and we did everything right. But the mistake with the government system, I'm sorry to say if anybody from the government here, was it was too much supply side focused. It was too much supply side focused. They funded the TPs, they funded the APs, they funded everybody else. They just gave us one capital 4-5 crores for our sustenance for building QPs and all. They didn't fund us so much, but they funded everybody else more than us. So the TPs thought they are bigger than us. They made PMKKs, these, that, everything. Lot of investment went into the supply side. And I went on complaining in every meeting, where is the demand side alignment? Why we are not spending money in the demand side correctly? So there is a chaos. Now you know what report has come out. It's all that. Those is past. We have a matured NSQF aligned training ecosystem through SSC. We are all done. But the challenge today is something else. We have gone through EMS through rough waters. We are going through automotive. We know how EVs are coming. We know what has happened to solar. We know how country is able to do and not able to do. It is not a failure of talent or resources and anything. It's all these people have talked. It is a failure of the business objectives and business narratives. In mobile phone, what are we doing? We know what is the value add problem. We know what is the supply chain challenge. If we don't have components make in India and we don't have our value add correctly, lot of manufacturing happen in mobile is the subsidy what the government is giving, probably there is net negative. So government is giving a lot of subsidy, but government has to also get back something.
Sir, do you think, I see a lot of development with respect to the non-NSQF aligned courses and training being provided. Do you think is it okay to have non-NSQF or everything should be standardized? Every skilling should have a standardized
If we want to measure the outcome and do globalization of training through partners, that standardization is required. But if I am aligned with one industry, suppose the Lenti guy says, this is my requirement. It is NSQF or no NSQF, I don't care. But if he is ensuring it is his requirement and it's a demand-driven thing, it can go outside NSQF as well.
That's right. So that basically provides a sustainable way for the employees also. I mean, if they have a standard certificate, they can go anywhere, anytime.
Standard is always better, but if there is emergencies, there is big requirement and somebody says that he needs some people confirm whether it is not having that standard or having the standard, you chase it. But they can go ahead if the demand is right.
True, sir. I mean, very well said. I mean, running a paucity of time, one last question I would like to pose to Dr. Ashwini Agrawal. Sir, I mean, you're doing a multitude of programs. You kind of mentor to the industry, skilling industry also. You've associated with the academia also. You're sitting on the chair for IEEE as well as for us also, for the NOS committee. So what do you think the critical three things that needs to be done for this whole skilling industry to really mature?
Okay, I think the first thing is we start with the industry. What do they want? Second, once you have got a fix on the job rules, have a fix on the national occupation standards so that the skilling is right and it is not focusing on things which are it's a standardized delivery. Industry knows what sort of people they're going to get. If they want a vacuum technologist, then that vacuum technology must know how to create ultra-high vacuum. He should know how to detect a leak. He should be able to identify components of the vacuum system. That is going to be a need. So you need to have a standardized execution. Third thing is, depending on the job rule, you need to actually look at the right delivery of the hands-on. Okay, for semiconductors specifically, it is not practical to create a $1 billion fab in every institute. There seems to be a competition going on between various institutes right now to see how to boast they have got a bigger lab and a better lab than maybe someone else. The fact of the case is you don't need to do that. We have good setups in some certain nodal institutes. We need to expand on certain capabilities, but we should also use those capabilities that are there appropriately. To take an example, people claim that they have an ATMP setup in their institute. What they have could be a simple wafer dicing machine. That wafer dicing machine can be an 8-inch single spindle machine. It will be costing different from a 12-inch machine with a 2-spindle cutting, which will be different from a diamond wafer sewing machine to a laser dicing machine to a plasma dicing machine. So, does the institute think he's going to have all the tools in his facility to deliver it? He doesn't need to do that. He needs to have, the basics. He should have the simulators, and he should get access to the other tools for a hands-on, okay, or a reasonable eyes-on. Because once he understands what is the principle of getting the best yield out for the factory, which is what, Sesra would require. That somebody should know that if he just increases the speed, it will drop the yield. He needs to know exactly what will be the balance. He should be able to read the chart and say this is where it should be. And well, that is the skill that is required. Once he knows the defects that could accrue, what are the issues involved, where he has to use a single cut dicing, where he has to use a step cut dicing, what sort of substrate he's working on. Is it a CMOS silicon substrate? Is it a gallium arsenide substrate? What will be the implications of that? Those are the things that are required. So the need is to create a few COEs with a very clear mandate that they have to farm out and serve a lot of spokes in that region. Okay, and we need to make sure that the design of our NOSes is such that it is not just tied to a single objective of delivering only one very specialized training, which basically means if there is, you create a NOS, we have a NOS called Industrial Safety for Semiconductors. Now that NOS will deliver that skill for people who are going to serve the semiconductor industry in India. It should be such that it is portable to any other semiconductor industry across the world. It should be such that if a guy can't get absorbed in the semiconductor industry in India, well, that skill is portable to any EHS role in the chemical process industry. So do not have to create such narrow definitions that the guy cannot get absorbed elsewhere. Once we take care of this flow, start from the end industry need, make sure that we balance our investments right, make sure that the workforce is getting opportunities in semiconductors or in horizontal opportunities. Don't get over-focused on a degree as much as we need to build skills. And they should add credentials, as many as they can. In the world that is coming, I have 40 global certifications. People should add certifications in. That is it. Once you build that culture of skill building, I think the rest will follow easily. It's a continuous learning program.
That's true. That's true, sir. In fact, of course, when we talk about the semiconductor industry, the fab especially, the highly skilled, high-tech skilling that is required, but on the other side, we see that in 62, almost 80% of the people don't go to college in India. The dropout rates, 50% of the people don't even make it to 12th. So there is a whole large segment of people who are really looking for, even if for a low wage, lower scale enterprises, they're self-employed. If you go to states, majority of the states have people in the low wage sectors, whether they're in the low wage labor. Formal sector is not even 3%. But this is a highly formalized sector actually, semiconductor. So well said, sir. There's a long way to go with highly specialized skilling environment to be created for them. Again, one lasting thought quickly, starting from Varun, you, for the audience to take home, when it comes to the sovereignty and skilling, what's your one single thought that you want people to take home?
I'll still go back to my initial statement. Skilling is not a challenge. If you look at the US, for example, right? No dearth of money, so no dearth of capital, no dearth of land space. There is an overall demand, clearly, the US is the biggest market. But there is a lack of demand in terms of there is no production, there are no fabs, there are no ATMPs, there are no SATs there, maybe barring a couple of small ones. So therefore, all of that over the last 25, 30, 35 years shifted to Korea, Taiwan, Southeast Asia. They are facing the same challenge that we are facing today on skilling. They don't have the skills. So while the biggest of companies want to build fabs and packaging plants there, but they're not able to find the right people. And then they have another problem of having less of people as well. We don't have that problem. So the gap on, it's about how the business is driving the capital and capital is driving skilling, etc.
Thank you, Varun. Sir, can we just quickly wrap up in 30 seconds each? Tell us your lasting thoughts. What do you think about where are we when it comes to the sovereignty and the skill gap for the industry?
See, this is a new area. None of your previous knowledge or experience will help you in semicon, because semicon itself is a extremely different and difficult and new area. Here people don't understand many things. He says the water is so critical. People don't understand the quality of water has to be right. It can't be used. So things are very tough.
So you think the education we need to like
I'll
pump
tell
up
you
something?
what needs to be done correctly. We can't do ourselves. You got to follow somebody. The best thing to follow is Taiwan right now, because I've been to Taiwan universities. I look for standardizing this training. What I learned is, in Taiwan, few colleges are teaching semiconductor related course curriculums as extended curriculum, not as a regular curriculum. But they are giving practical knowledge and experience with TSMC or TSMC associates or few semicon companies. So till you don't mix up this education and the practical OJT kind of thing in some environment, till our industry matures here, I don't know whether Sahasra will provide or somebody else will provide. This is the right model. But when it is right, till we are not right, we can't do it.
Right.
So what is the best practices in the world is Taiwan. See how soon we can do it or how we can collaborate with them.
So you've actually said a very right thing, because PhD Chambers is organizing a visit to Taiwan
so I
next month, I guess.
Who are doing semicon
Right.
training there, and they all have arrangement with the semicon industries to do hands-on, because they can't build the facilities in the colleges. They can only teach the theories. For practicals, they have to go to the facilities.
That's right.
So you
Ashwini
got
sir?
to mix it that way. Otherwise, it's too expensive to set up a semiconductor lab.
Absolutely.
If BSS is able to do one in clusters, I'm happy. But it can't go to colleges. So you got to think about a practical solution.
Right. So Dr. Ashwini Agarwal?
Have faith. We can do it on our own. Too many people want to derail us, saying this is too sophisticated. Doubt if he has PhDs running his wire bonding or all his tools. It is done by ITI level people. We should have faith. Yeah. Second, be very clear. We have to build that process, discipline, people who are going to get created. And yes, I agree with him. We need mandatory industry, academia trainings.
Dr. Garg?
Yeah, I will only say that first of all, we need to bring down the pedestal from higher level institution to a lower level institution. Forget IITs, go to the basic NITs or engineering college which can teach these courses. Absolutely. I think majority of the workforce comes down not from this 1% population. It comes down from a people and population. No IIT student is working in a semiconductor fab. He is only doing an investment process. So please let us look at the other side of the story, that we need to go down to the lower level of the teaching. People are educated enough. All Marathis still come from Haryana only. So that's not a challenge. All we get good cars from Maruti only, or from XYZ company, only because people from the lower strata. So let's focus there where the skilling is going to happen.
Uncle?
Product is the key mantra here. If we start thinking what we want to build, that's it.
That's
right. Skilling is not a problem.
That was the best lasting thought I could hear. Thank you so much. So gentlemen, having the privilege of having such distinguished professionals with us today, learning from their experience, maybe because some insistent question there, probably, maybe we can take a question, please. Yeah. Can somebody give him a mic?
Carbide industry, right? And what do you think? How would you change the people who are working on your shop floor when silicon carbide will be taken care of from gallium nitride? Yeah? Because very soon silicon carbide will be taken over by gallium nitride anyway.
Okay, so sir.
No laugh, sir. Please check it out.
Sir, why I laugh? I will tell you the answer. Why?
I will listen to your answer, sir.
Okay. So sir, I have started this journey almost 4 years back, right? With the research engagement with academia. And I have divided them into 2 different levels, right? One is a selected set of colleges, and I'm not saying it is all the IITs, right? I find good work happening in non-IITs as well, right? A a selected set of colleges which I can say these can be a flag bearer, right? And they are doing good cutting edge things. At the same time, I cannot say that I can leave the majority, right? So I also work with what we call in India the tier 2, tier 3 organizations, the private ones or the government ones or whatever, right? There I see the appetite is there, the hunger is there, right? Where students want to do a lot of things, but the opportunity is not there. As when I say opportunity, it is in terms of exposure, right? That is where I don't see. I can give you an example. I know a student who is right now in his 3rd year of engineering doing a neuromorphic chip, okay? And he comes from a remote place called Tiruvannamalai in Tamil Nadu, okay? And what he has done, he started he got an incubation facility within the institute. So he asked all his college batchmates saying that I want to do this, you want to partner. Now he has 75 students out of 120 who is part of his startup. He raised funds recently and Sridhar Vembu sir is the investor there. So means he was just waiting and saying that someone needs to tell me what I am doing is right or not. And he has gone to all the IITs, IISCs, professors who are into the neuromorphic space. And he has gone, shown that this is what I want to do, this is how I am doing it. You please tell me I am doing right or not.
Sir, my apologies, sir. They have closed the session for any more questions. Thank you, Sankalp. I would really love this to continue forever.
I will just conclude. I will only say one sentence. Your answer is right. SIC, Compound Semi, is going to take over silicon soon, maybe by 2030 to 2035. So we must invest in Compound Semi. That's why the IndiChip is incorporated.
Thank you, sir. I mean, once again, it's been a fantastic discussions here. Only thing that remains for me to do is once again thank all the distinguished panelists for their presence today and all of you for making time, patiently sitting around and listening to all of us. Thank you once again. Thank you PhD Chambers for organizing this. Thank you all the people who have participated here once again. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would now like to request Ms. Aprajita Mangotra, Director PhD CCI, to kindly facilitate our moderator and our panel members for such a progressive discussion. I would request Shri Madhvendra Singh, Chief Executive Officer, Electronic Sector Skills Council of India, to kindly accept our token of gratitude for handling and moderating this session. Thank you so much, sir. I now request Shri Varun Manvani to kindly come up and accept our token of gratitude for such a valuable industry perspective on semiconductor. Thank you so much, sir. I also now request Shri N.K. Mohapatra to kindly accept our token of gratitude for sharing his valuable perspectives on skill development and building a future-ready workforce. Thank you, sir. I also request Dr. Ashwini Agrawal to kindly accept our token of gratitude for sharing his expert insights on semiconductor skilling, education, and industry academia collaboration. I also request Dr. Sankalp Singh to kindly accept our token of gratitude for his valuable perspectives on semiconductor design, education, and academic partnership. I also request Dr. Sandeep Garg to kindly accept our token of gratitude for his valuable presence here with us today. Thank you so much. Can I also have a huge round of applause once again for all the members present here? I request all the members to kindly stay back for a group photograph. technical session 2. I request all the audience to kindly remain seated. I request your attention. Kindly take your respective seats as we begin the technical session 2. I request all of you to kindly take your seats as these discussions can be continued over lunch. Talent to translating policy into production and scaling India's semiconductor manufacturing capabilities. This session brings together eminent leaders from industry, academia, and technology who will share their perspectives on strengthening India's position in the global semiconductor value chain. To moderate this important discussion, it is my privilege to invite and introduce Mr. Subhayan Chakraborty, journalist at the Economic Times, as our moderator. Mr. Chakraborty leads the Economic Times coverage of technology policy with a focus on electronics, information technology, and digital governance. A keen observer of public policy, he has extensively reported on the Ministries of Commerce, External Affairs, Petroleum, and Telecommunications, bringing deep insights into India's evolving policy landscape. I invite you, sir. Can we have a huge round of applause for our moderator? I would now like to request our panelists to kindly join the moderator on the dais. I invite Shri Sanjay Gupta, India Country Head and Chief Development Officer, L&T Semiconductor Technology. We are pleased to have you, sir. I also request Shri Ankur Singh to come and join us on the dais. Under his visionary leadership, YU Group has emerged as a trusted engineering partner for semiconductor and advanced manufacturing projects. I also request Shri Ankur Jain, with over 25 years of distinguished experience in semiconductors, telecommunications, and embedded technology. Mr. Jain has been instrumental in driving innovation, engineering excellence, and strategic partnerships. We are pleased to have you, sir. I would also like to request Sri Nikhil Chawla, a respected technology commentator and columnist. Sri Chawla is widely recognized for making complex technological developments accessible to a broader audiences. Over to you, sir.
Hi everyone, good afternoon. Welcoming our panelists today. I understand there's a lot of interest in semiconductors simply because after the last two sessions we saw a lot of churn. Everyone wants to talk to everyone. Hopefully a lot of business B2B deals and stuff happening. I would have to say at the very onset that we have been brought together by Phdcci today at a very opportune moment. A couple of the last speakers, a lot of the audience mentioned ISM 1.0, what all are expected from ISM 2.0. Over the last couple of days, we had been hearing that ISM 2.2 may be introduced to the cabinet soon enough. And earlier today, we heard that it may come today itself. So at 3 o'clock, there's a cabinet briefing. So hopefully, if it does come in, we will all remember where we were on that day. So the Expenditure Finance Committee of the Finance Ministry had passed ISM based on what the government, what the Ministry of Electronics and IT wanted it to be like. And we expect cabinet to pass it broadly along those lines. Just to take a step back, we understand that we come from various sub-segments of the entire semiconductor manufacturing ecosystem. But just to take a step back and just to spend 2 minutes on what exactly ISM 2.0 as well as the entirety of policies around semiconductors are expected to shape up to be. So just a couple of months back, the minister spoke to us very candidly on the sidelines of DLI 2.0. We were given an idea as to what it will look like. So as part of that, in the next 4 years, by 2029, the government plans to establish domestic capabilities for manufacturing for chips, which will in effect service some 75% of everything that chips are needed for, from lights to motors to everything. After that, by 32, they plan to begin manufacturing and designing advanced nodes up to 2 and 3 nanometers. And then once all these things happen, hopefully by 2035, we aim to be one among the top 4 semiconductor nations. For this, senior officials have told us repeatedly that they have studied the way Taiwan, Japan and Korea had taken the lead, and we are expected to reach those stages by 35. So that is what they think will happen. I would just love to open this panel by asking each of our very esteemed panelists as to what are some of the key strategic interventions that they feel will probably help us reach that level.
Thank you. It's a good afternoon now. So I think you started on a very positive note that maybe ISM 2.0 might be coming today. So with that positive hope, let me start. Privileged to be here, part of semiconductor industry for 3 decades. And my background has always been into the design piece of semiconductors. So my wish, to answer your question, the strategic leap that we can do is, if you holistically divide the whole semiconductors value chain, purely in terms of the value creation, on average, semiconductor design, which encompasses the systems and architecture, then the development of RTL coding, then physical design, then silicon validation once the chip comes out. So the entire 360-degree view of the design and development phase, which is, by the way, almost 2 to 3 years long, if you look into the end-to-end cycle, that contributes almost 60 to 70% of the value in the overall chain. So which means that if a chip is valued at $100, about $60 goes in design, and remaining 40 goes into stage 2, which is manufacturing, and stage 3, which is OSAT. So my personal view is, right now government in ISM 1.0 has been maniacally focused about stage 2 and 3, which is wafer fab and OSAT. And I believe with the 12 projects that are approved, it's a decent amount of progress country has made, although on ground nothing is visible as yet, because things takes time. In the subsequent discussion, I will talk about what will be my vision to those policies to speed up the operation in ground. But having said that, I believe ISM 2.0 should rightly focusing on the first part, which is highest value creation, but right now completely missing. We may claim that we have a DLI which gives about 15 crore rupees as reimbursements to a lot of fabulous design companies, but in reality on ground that is nothing. You cannot build a semiconductor design company with $2 million. You need on average at least $10 million if you are building something in a meaningful average node. Average mask costs you anywhere from 1 million to 3 million. Even if you go to 28 nanometer, you have huge EDA tools, and on ground we can claim that they are provided by government, but in reality they are not sufficient by any scale. So each one of those on average cost $1 million for a 25 people team per year, right? So that is a huge expense. Then you need a very costly lab equipments to test whatever you have designed. And on average, a decent lab takes about 4 to 5 million to get created. A basic lab, you still need $1 million for basic things. And then employee salaries. You need to steal these employees from MNCs, and they are not cheap by any standards. So you need a lot of money to attract talent. And if you homegrown it at a meager cost, the only thing that will happen is they will go back to MNCs, right? So in summary, $8 to $10 million is a bare minimum that you need to start a fabulous design company. So my wish to your question will be a grant that is not reimbursement based, that should be upfront as a risk capital, and ability for a lot of Indian talent to start their own companies. India is a 20-25% of the world's talent, but it's a pity that we don't have a single company that claims an established company, right? There are a lot of companies which are starting, but none of them established. So I think this is our moment. For next 10 years, if we are able to do that, I think we will do a great service to our nation. Thank you.
So I'm going to bring a very different perspective on this forum because Sanjay sir spoke about the design. I'm going to talk about something which is mostly invisible. So what has happened in ISM 1.0? The anchor investment has come. We have all seen a lot of ground activities. Nothing is on the ground, but yes, we can see a lot of things on the newspaper, and probably we can expect something to come up very soon. Now, if I am going to talk about a different perspective, it's like we are talking about semicon fab. It's good, but how we are going to build the fab? We are all talking about the talent to run the machines, but the machines will come later. First, you need the infrastructure, right? So the invisible layer about the semicon fab, with mostly people are not talking about because of various reasons, because most of us are not aware. 10 years back, when I was a part of building a semiconductor fab in Singapore, Micron Semicon 10X project, I see a pool of people, pool of engineers, technicians working there, and the pool was kind of 10,000 of them. I don't see that kind of people, trained people in India so far. When you look at any inauguration of a semicon fab by government, the photographers, our good friends, they click the building, the infrastructure, but they don't click the invisible infrastructure, which is actually going to run it, right? We talk about ISM 1.0, the policies and all. The policies, probably it will fund the project, but how do we run the project? You need the infrastructure, you need the engineers who are going to, in fact, give you the utilities which are very necessary. Sandeep sir spoke about it a bit in the previous session. Like engineers, it's there, somewhere they will get trained. But if you go and talk to any company in India and give them a list of utilities, and I'm talking about all these gases and chemicals, if you give them a list of them, they'll say, okay, I have never heard of it. They don't know about the precursors, they don't know about the dopant. So there is a gap, there's still a huge gap. So ISM 2.0, our expectations, and even I'm also representing the MSME sector, is something to talk about this missing link, to generate the talent, to encourage people to come up in this field. This is a huge, I would say, opportunity for all of us. And imagine we are talking about semiconductor sovereignty, right? We will build a fab, and everything in this fab is coming from outside, be it from Taiwan, China, Korea, because of cost pressure. I mean, Varun spoke about one particular aspect which was a pressing issue in the previous session, like people go for the cheapest option available. Now we build a fab, and everything is coming from outside. It's not a semicon fab, it's a semiconductor real estate, I would say, right? Because everything is being imported. So before I go and touch base more onto this particular pressing issue, I must also tell you what we are doing as a Vayu Group of company. We have infrastructure, we have a training center where we are training our people. We are not a training house though, we are an industry where we need to get our investment, our return back. But we are training because we don't have the pool of talent. We have infrastructure like class 100 and class 10,000 clean room, where we are developing all these utility handling systems. Probably you will not see such kind of companies in India. And we are competing with the Chinese, the Taiwanese, the Korean. That's very unfortunate. I mean, competition is not unfortunate, but we are losing 90% of the market share because they have an access to the global market, and we are still learning. So the expectation from ISM 2.0 would be to give us a fair share, to promote, because that's how we can build a resilient ecosystem, a supply chain, which cannot be eradicated in the longer term. So that's very important. Probably, I expect some more questions, from the audience or probably from the moderator, Suvyan. GST, I mean, when I'm talking about losing business with these guys, from different countries, why we are losing it? Because the policies, the support from the government is actually helping them, and not by a margin. It's a huge margin, I would say. We have to import most of the component because obviously we cannot start manufacturing the next day everything. So it is coming from outside, something from Korea, something from US. We are importing it and we are paying a GST on top of it. And then we are building our system, we are selling it to the customer. Our customer, obviously we have to pass on the GST, so we sign a invoice with a GST component on it, and our customer says that, hey, look, Ankur, why should I buy from you? I'll buy from the Korean guys because they are not charging a GST. On top of it, I have to pay custom duty on my components. And then that also gets built up on my cost. So, I mean, to answer your question, yes, GST and custom duty all put together, there is a gap of 30%, 30. That's huge. I cannot be competitive. And I have a very small market in India. My competition is catering to the global market. Imagine, there's a disparity, and ISM 2.0, I would like to see a lot more for these particular issues for the industry to, start developing this aspect. Otherwise, the semicon industry is going to fail for sure. I'm sorry to say that.
Glad to be here, and good thoughts from gentlemen here. So I'm representing MediaTek. It's a global fabless semiconductor company from Taiwan. I think we discuss Taiwan a lot. And I've been with this company for the last 22 years, a long time. And we are doing chip design for several verticals like smartphones, smart TVs, and routers. And recently we are getting also into AI ASICs, which is a great global market. And I think, as Sanjay mentioned, the 60 to 70% value is actually in the design phase. That's what we are doing. And I think there, my take would be, I will talk more about design, is that recently we have seen a lot of push from the government itself. We have the RDI fund, for example, which is 1 lakh crore, and we have the DLI schemes, of course. So now we are looking at some startup coming up, startups which are trying to venture into this field, which is really capital intensive in terms of manpower. And but we are seeing some startups coming up, and also at the same time we see the risk appetite of the VC ecosystem also building up for this specific area. And earlier you would see that all the VCs were investing into software companies, but now I think they have started to have some patient capital, which they want to also put into fabless semiconductor companies, and we are seeing some traction there. But it's a very, very long-term game. It'll take. If you see Taiwan itself, of course, having a target of 2035, 2 nanometers is very aggressive, very good to have. But Taiwan took 30 to 40 years to come to a stage where they are right now. TSMC has been around for 40 years, and Taiwan government has been giving all these incentives for so many years. So it's a long-term thing. And but for design, I think with all these idea funds, etc., coming in, we have some good hope, to have local homegrown fabless companies, and that will help into the sovereignty aspect as well as the title of this seminar. But overall, I think it's still a long way to go. I think I would agree with the previous speakers. It's a really long way to go for fabless and also for the manufacturing itself. Yeah.
I completely agree with my fellow panelists, and I'm hoping that 3 p.m. everything changes and everything is positive for all of us. But I would like to straight away go to the fact that we need to build a strong talent pipeline first before anything else, because that is the most important thing. Because fabs, incentives, everything is okay, but if you don't have an ecosystem that is starting from ground up, it doesn't make any sense. Like if you look at the markets, which are the biggest markets in semiconductors, Taiwan, South Korea, or US for that matter, they all started ground up. So firstly, we need to start ground up in terms of, talent first, building talents, engineers, designers, to achieve the targets and to make it an ecosystem. Because, industries can be built on capital, but ecosystems are built on consistency, and we need that. And to do that, we need to have to start with talent first, and then, incentivizing, and then academia, industry partnerships, education, all of that is something that we really, really need to focus on. And I think invest in R&D, have IPs that are led from India, indigenous IPs that can help support these new companies and startups. And, funding and all is fine, but we need to give them the easy way out. We can't just have so many red tapeism and all of that and then expect that this industry will grow. And like you mentioned, that it will fail if we don't really make a seamless process of doing everything and supporting the ecosystem. Thank you.
Oh, hi. No, that was very interesting. I have a question, a common question for both Mr. Gupta as well as Jain sir. A lot of people had said that while fabs represent the shining pinnacle, the biggest white elephant in the room when it comes to a country's accomplishments in the entire ecosystem, but fabless designing may be our go-to ticket to enter this entire ecosystem. And there was a lot of focus on it last year as part of the two or three the main events that the government had done. With regards to the fabless designing ecosystem globally, I just wanted to understand from both of your perspectives, and both of you represent big companies which are doing major work in fabless designing. When it comes to finally bringing those products, finally getting them tested out in our market and getting them validated, is it, what are your customers saying right now? Simply because, do they have they accepted this new reality that a larger number of Indian companies every year will be bringing out products of their own, and this is something that we can test out?
Okay, you want to start? So I think the Indian companies which are coming up, for them, they are taking very small baby steps, right? So I think the MNCs are not really too much concerned about what's happening in India, because they are looking at very niche kind of verticals, like a camera, for example, right? And so it's a very, very niche vertical they're looking at. So I think MNCs may not be too much concerned about that. But I would actually also talk about the manufacturing side. I think we talked about the fabless, which is important. But why manufacturing? I think from my feeling from the government point of view is that having manufacturing in India is important from strategy point of view. It's not only from business model or how to make money. It is because the chips have to be secure. So if we are able to manufacture in India, that actually brings in that sovereignty factor. And we have seen so many stories around us globally that the chips can be actually hacked, right, from remote locations. So having a chip manufacturing ecosystem in India is important from that point of view as well. Not only from how to make money, how does it help the business, and of course it also helps to create a lot of employment. It's in like masses, right, and also tries to save foreign exchange. So those fundamental reasons to have manufacturing is very, very important. I think that's the reason the government started for this. And it's good to know that it's going well, and we have 12 projects and so on. But certainly, fabless still captures a big value, right? And I'm hoping that we have more and more startups which come up, hopefully. Yeah.
Sure. So my perspective on your question is very similar to what my friend Anku said. If you look into holistically as India as a country, right, there are multiple levers right now that are active at the same time. One is the geopolitics. We all know that as we speak, the whole world has 3-4 parallel wars going on, right? Yeah. In my childhood, I used to believe what is a very peaceful place. Now, this is a very different era we are living into. And interestingly, geopolitics can turn in any direction, as we have already seen. So two countries can be friends, two countries can be enemies. You never know what is playing out. So India, as the largest populous country in the world today, if it is deprived of, say, one country in the planet, Taiwan, that our entire backbone is going to be broken in terms of any progress in any industry. And that is a very dangerous situation, because that Taiwan is right under the shoulder of another big country, right? So geopolitics is one that is forcing us to make us self-reliant into design, manufacturing and testing. That is one. Second is the financial angle. The way Indian youth and India in general is consuming these electronic devices, it is the largest growth rate in the world today. Our net oil import is something that can be easily beaten up by our electronic import. So oil import, give and take average, was about $125 billion at a nominal $90 rate. But today, with the $45 billion import that India did, by next 5 years, we might be even crossing oil import for sure or matching it. So imagine oil is the biggest creator of a disruptor in the Indian economy and inflation. What will happen if oil plus electronics starts doing it or semiconductors start doing it, right? So this is a big financial angle. Third angle is no industry can prosper. Semiconductor, I say, is a foundational industry on which multiple verticals are banking on. So the entire growth of the country, when we say 7-8%, is banking on semiconductors supply. Even if it happens, does it happen in the right time? Does it happen at the right cost? I have been part of previous companies where in Minda Corporation, where I was for 2 years. The biggest challenge was a chip which was worth $1 was getting sold, because it was right after COVID, for $70, 70. So what you do, your entire cost dynamics can go haywire, and you will not survive. So I agree with Mr. Ankur that if we do not do certain things right, we are actually not going to succeed as a country. So there are multiple dimensions going. Now coming back to fabless ecosystem, there is a once input which is important for it to succeed is our vendors. Now who are vendors of fabless? These are the IP companies. Okay? So there is no single IP that India as a country owns right now. It is a pity, but that's a fact. We don't have a Bluetooth IP owned by us. We don't have a CPU core owned by us. We have MediaTek owning a lot of stuff, but as a India, we don't own it. Right? How we make sure that Indian IP are created so that our dependency on IPs goes away. In a typical P&L of a semiconductor fabless company, you will be surprised for an average complexity chip selling at $5 can have a IPs as high as $10 million that you have to give up front. So your $10 million goes just to procure the IPs. Abhi to kuch shuru hi nahi hua hai. So IPs is a very important factor. Second is government policy as an enabler. So these policies are what? You can design the best chips in the world, but there is no buyer. How you enforce that there are customers which are dying to take chips from Indian companies. So you solve problem at the supply side, you need to solve problem at the demand side also. How we can have the procurement channels which are preferable to Indian companies, because a lot of other countries have done the same. Then third, we talked a lot about talent and skilling, so I will not go into that. But out of 15 lakh engineers that India produce very proudly, I hate to say that not even 25,000 people are going into high-tech, deep-tech semiconductors, right? So how we channelize them by providing the right energy so that the ecosystem of talent is growing, and again, I hate to say that salaries will come down or at least stay static. Otherwise, MNCs will always jack up the prices. And the last thing is, in this whole ecosystem, how you can have customers part of the solution rather than part of the problem. So can we have some policies where even global customers, not just Indian customers, have incentives to buy it from Indian companies? And then it will fuel huge demand that companies are after semiconductor fabless. Can you have your own local IP? Can you have your own local products? And then all the peripheral industry will flourish. So I have a lot of wish, but reality is that unless we make them true, we will not be able to your goal of the top 4 semiconductor nations in the world in a true way in next 10 years.
Just latching on to Mr. Gupta's point about IP creation, I'd love to move to Mr. Singh. I remember as part of the electronics component manufacturing scheme last month, for the last couple of months, the government has been bringing, disbursing a list of benefits to a list of applicants every couple of months. And I remember at the last meeting, the minister point blank said that until all of the applicants come to meet with a specific commitment as to we are going to hire these many people in our designing teams, we will change the scheme guidelines and stop providing you all incentives. It was very difficult for me as well as a lot of other journalists to understand what is holding companies, big ones as well as relatively smaller ones, from just going out and hiring a couple of designers. But I do understand that the nuances are where the devil lies. So if you can just tell us a little bit more about that.
See, the question is for the design part, which probably Anku can answer it better than me. But just to give other perspective again, it's not that simple that you make a plan and then you start executing it as per the plan. So hiring a designer, probably it looks very easy, but sustaining it with a plan which is aligned to your project is very difficult, right? So probably that is one of the reasons why it is not happening the way ministers wanted. But probably you can add some more value into it. But if the question is towards the manufacturing, towards the actual hands requirement and giving a complete overview to the authorities, I'll be able to take that question.
No, I meant with regards to establishing a set of researchers and in-house designers for every facility that you currently own or are planning. Is it a tall ask? Because this is what apparently the government is thinking, that you guys can do it.
See, it's not like it's not happening. It's happening. Even in our group of companies, if you look at, we have the researchers, working around. When you look at the semiconductor market, it's not very easy to categorize it and not work in tandem. So one industry giving a program of R&D is not going to be fruitful, probably because there is another end to it, right? And it has to happen in an industry-wise rather than in a company-wise. So that's one thing, I would say a bigger ask is like make a forum where these companies can produce some kind of document where they are talking about hiring a researcher or a scientist to do some kind of research and coming up with a product-oriented solution.
Latching on to another point that Mr. Gupta made with regards to the geopolitics at play. In the previous session, we heard a couple of the people in the audience as well as in the on the panel say that this country, just like for XXX sectors, I think CCTVs were mentioned, in certain subsectors we need domestic mandates, for just like had been that has happened in China and other places. However, just talking about geopolitics, we have also seen that over the last 3 to 4 years, one country in particular have really taken offense to any kind of local sourcing mandates being done at any level. Without mentioning the country, that's the one which keeps on threatening us with tariffs. So in this kind of a situation where people are very, very, where they have become very sensitive to any country bringing out any local sourcing norms or mandates, I will skip all the guys from the industry on my panel. I'll move straight to Mr. Chawla, if he can give, because he keeps on talking to people across the technological cross-section. If you can probably take that. How do we negotiate through this?
Well, negotiating with the bully is very tough, but that's what is happening in the world right now, because we've seen whatever I don't want to name the country and the person again, but it is a tough task. But again, that's why we have to be resilient. That's why we have to have our own ecosystem. But to do that, again, we have to start from the scratch, ground up, and improve the infrastructure and allow more startups to function in a way they want to function, not force them upon tariffs or whatever it is. And again, in terms of gradually reduce our dependability on other countries. It can't just happen overnight. Again, I mentioned that it is about consistency. It's not about next 3 years or 5 years. It's about the next few decades where we can build this up. Taiwan didn't happen overnight. It took years, and I have been fortunate enough to be at the MediaTek HQs, the TSMCs, and I've seen the way it is working, the whole ecosystem, how it works. And it is from the smallest part to the biggest part is available there as an ecosystem. It's not about, you're sourcing some from some country another. All of this is in that same geography. But again, depending on a certain geography is also something that is the world should not be dependent on. It has to be many more countries, many more. And India should start building it right now, become self-resilient, and build that ecosystem. We are not depending. I don't think so it will ever be the part that we'll, over the next few years, that we can be completely on our own. We'll always be depending on certain geographies, but the more we can do, the better it is for now. Yeah, thank you.
Taking forward what Mr. Chawla said with regards to maintaining the fact that reaching sovereignty will require us to maintain and sustain momentum in various things from the ground up. If I could just turn to all of you, ISM 1.0 understood that throwing money around the entire ecosystem will not work, so they tried to focus on OSATs. They did not say it out loud, but broadly we understood that ATMs and the OSATs were directly in their crosshairs. ISM 2.0, the Minister, Secretary and other officials have continued to lay stress on the fact that this will be for the entire ecosystem. In the last panel we heard someone mention gases, and which is very true. We do not have any capabilities when it comes to gases. That's why in the very first month of the Iran war, there was a lot of challenges with regards to supply chains. You guys work with companies across the board. For ISM 2.0, which would be the specific sectors where you think that intervention should go? And this is public money we are talking about. Which segment should receive the first priority?
So, based on whatever I have interacted with the government, MIT in particular, I'm very strong view that at 3 o'clock, as per your time, there will be a very special focus on local indigenous IP creation. today this is the foundational problem, and that is where the majority of the talent can be attracted. That is where majority of the value and cost goes. And once this happens, India can proudly say that we own a particular protocol, we own a particular standard, we own the entire hardware and software stack, so a lot of opportunities are there. That will be one. Second will be, of course, on the fabless design. I'm very confident about it. The reimbursement based on DLI should convert it into a risk capital at a higher amount. Third is, of course, the what Mr. Ankur said is going to be the ecosystem that is invisible, is a very important part to make our fabs and OSAT successful. And fourth is going to be the skill. So these are the 4 areas that at least I believe will be a 2.0 focus for ISM.
I think Gupta sir has covered almost all the sections. I would like to put more emphasis on the third one, which is the invisible infrastructure. And imagine, when you're building the fab, not the fabless, the actual fab, what you need is probably millions and millions of liters of ultra high pure water. And imagine if the infrastructure is being built by our neighboring countries and they just switch it off, what will happen to all the investment? Probably all the investment will go, standstill. So this is the time, ISM 2.0, which was missed in ISM 1.0. And when I say missed, the intention of the government and the government officials was very good, very clear, and we now second that. Now it is the time to put emphasis on all those things what sir has said, and put more emphasis on developing companies who can focus on these utilities. When we are talking about gases, this is not the gas which is coming from Iran, by the way. These are ultra high pure gases, very lethal, very, very hazardous, and the design of it is as complicated as the design of the chip itself, probably even more in many cases. Similarly, we have different chemicals. When I say chemicals, these are in liquids, liquid phase. So I think we should put more emphasis on these aspects as much as we are putting on the actual thing which is actually visible.
Yeah, I think mostly covered, but my feeling is that I don't know if it's really covered in ISM 2.0, but something in tune of risk capital. That is something which is greatly missing, and I think that has to grow by leaps and bounds. That's the only way when entrepreneurs can actually take a leap of faith, and create some new IP. IP creation will also happen due to that, right? So I think risk capital is getting better, but still a long way to go. And probably, if you look at Silicon Valley, it has taken 50 years for them, 40 to 50 years. In India, the VC ecosystem started maybe 15 years ago. But I think government can also do its bit, how to create a risk capital pool, and which is equity-based, and grant, because equity-based means that they will have skin in the game, and they will also make sure that it is a viable startup, right? And actually, the market-driven forces then takes play, and then the IP creation can really happen. So, but I don't know if that kind of thing is covered in ISM 2.0, but I think risk capital is something which is really important and missing right now.
I'll take this. Yeah, in the last session, I particularly was very interested in someone mentioning that there is a lot that is being done on skilling. And someone mentioned that skilling is not actually a challenge given the fact that we have a huge population and the EDA tools are the chip designing tools are being rolled out across hundreds of universities. I was just thinking that, as senior members of the industry, how much interest do you see from kids on ground, kids graduating college in semiconductor designing? I mean, has there been an increase in the number of applications that you guys are receiving, or are you ramping up hiring on those roles?
Yeah, so on the question of how engineering community is getting attracted to semiconductors vis-a-vis, say, the IT software jobs that were the truckloads of job available in every university, the answer is double-fold. The challenges in semiconductors is so high that you cannot hire too many IT graduates. I mean, the way, let's say TCS will hire 1,000 people from each college. Semiconductor company goes and hire 1 or 2 or 3 engineers per college. So the amount is going to be smaller. But having said that, there is a bigger traction that is growing thanks to the country's leadership on promoting semiconductors, because 90% of the layman still understands that when you talk about semiconductors, they think we are talking about fab, creation of the fab. So that awareness of there is something called ATMP, there is something called fabless design or IP, that is slowly spreading. So I see lot traction in engineering colleges to go for semiconductors, but still I would say the amount of jobs is not that high because of the very niche area. You take very few amount of people. But this is only going to grow bigger because a lot of universities have now enrolled semiconductors courses with different names. 10 years back there was absolutely nothing. Today I can proudly say that maybe 50% of the colleges, if you see there is a branch with electronics and VLSI, or a dedicated branch is also coming, electives for sure were there. So things are getting better. We surely need to speed it up. That's how I will put it.
In terms of VLSI engineers and all, I think we already have a good pool and there is a traction which is available in the country for quite some time. But I see the bottleneck somewhere else. We don't have the talent to actually do probably the very sophisticated thermoplastic welding, the infrared welding, or probably the orbital welding, which is robotic. These kind of skills, we still have to see some traction. I see a lot of people coming from Taiwan and China doing those kind of activities in India. I have a question with the government how they are allowed, because these are skills which you can impart probably in a 3 months program, and we as an organization is already doing it. We are doing it with IIT Gandhinagar, we are doing it with some other IITs, we are doing it with some other colleges as well, because we know that we have to create the pool and then probably they can help us overcome the situation. So the traction and the design, as Sir has said, is already visible. I think we need to create some more traction in this part of the industry as well.
What is the question again? How does...
The question was about the fact that on one hand we have ADA tools being rolled out to hundreds of universities, the minister going to semiconductor companies and saying that there is a 1 million manpower shortfall in the global semiconductor space. But on the other hand, we do not see that many new job roles opening up. So to change the culture around semiconductor hiring, and how do we get more kids to be interested in this?
I think job roles not opening up is more due to AI. That is a totally different topic. If you look at software, and as Sanjay said, software was one big area earlier, but now software itself is getting threatened by AI. So even the mass recruiters are not recruiting enough. So that we have a very big challenge there. All the entry-level jobs are kind of more difficult to get a job there. And for semiconductor, I think it's more market-driven. If you see that. Whatever, but Sanjay is right. The number of hirings are very small, so people do not look at it as a big opportunity. But I think it is market-driven, and people would train themselves in an area where they can find a good job. So it's, I would say, it will be difficult for someone to create a pool of engineers and hope that they are hired. It has to be market-driven, right? And so I think the first step could be, as I think earlier in the previous panel, it has to be business-driven. Value driven, and wherever the value happens, I think the talent will happen there.
I take this back and then go to Mr. Chawla. So I think we are slowly reaching the end of our allotted time. My last question, which I think some of us have woken up to very recently, is that there is a debate in the industry saying that on one hand, some in the policy making circles believe that we are already late. We should put all our efforts and money into fabs. Whereas on the other hand, there is a lot of chatter in policy circles about the fact that we have a golden opportunity to not only enter fabs, OTMPs and ATMPs and others, OSATs and others, but also take this thing up with regards to semiconductor equipment manufacturing. Plus also the fact that all the investments that have come as part of ISM 1.0 has been modulated to service mostly legacy nodes. So while India keeps on focusing on legacy nodes as of this point, the world is focused on leading edge. So if taking both these things together, is this a golden opportunity for us, or will it require a bit more work? The fact that we are focused currently on the traditional part of things. I'll ask Mr. Chawla and then everyone else, and then we can talk.
Okay, I was supposed to leave because I have a hard press to be there at 2 p.m. So I'm just texting. If you could just ask me that again, sorry.
Currently, given everything, our industry has mostly focused on the traditional part of semiconductor nodes. Globally, there's a lot of focus on the leading edge. I mean, given everything, given the way, given the place that we currently stand at, I mean, is this a golden opportunity for us? Or as most of you have pointed out, it will require more and more work?
No, of course, it is a golden opportunity, and the internal demand is also very high. If you look at our, the way we are spearheading EVs, that we have to push for EVs. Every car, every tech that you see, even a POS, which is a payment terminal, is powered by a chipset or semiconductor. So all of that is, of course, there is so much of internal demand that it is absolutely the golden age, and this is the time India has to really build it up and make sure that, again, I mentioned that it is not just about 2 years or 4 years, it's about decades of planning. But if we don't start right now at 3 p.m. today, then we are really, really behind.
Mr. Jain?
Yeah, I would agree with him. This is definitely important time to bring up the momentum. I think start happened a few years ago, and it has to be done. Even if it is a legacy node, that's how you start, right? As I mentioned earlier, Taiwan took 40 years. So unless you start, you cannot really reach the next milestone. So it has to happen, and I think Indian government has put in all the efforts. There's no doubt, right? I think such kind of initiatives and momentum from the government side was not really seen in any other industry. Maybe in the car industry a long time ago, right? I don't know. But it has been a really phenomenal effort from the government. And it is a difficult thing to do, right? And I think we have discussed about challenges, and we have a lot of naysayers and a lot of doubts. But this is the only way to go ahead. We have to move forward and slowly with the legacy node. And I don't know, 2 nanometers looks tough in 2035, but I think overall it seems this is the only way to go. So we have to keep going, yeah.
See, I think, with the knowledge what I have, the limited one in the semiconductor industry, this is the right way to go. I mean, you should always look at the matured nodes, and we do have a market for it already, right? Targeting 2 and 3 nanometer to start with for a country, I think that would have made it, more complex, more complicated. So I think we are on the right path. Then followed by that, the ATMP, that's the right thing to do. Now what we are expecting, and you started with a very positive, news about 3 p.m. So we are all, all very hopeful about that. And one thing I would like to add to your question is like this ISM 2.0. The other thing, you look at the anchor investment, in the first ISM 1.0. In the ISM 2.0, what I would expect from the government is like they should do the qualification criteria or make the qualification criteria in such a way that it is possible for smaller MSME companies also to be a part of it. Not you need thousands and thousands or billions of $1 billion of investment to be a part of the investment. ISM 2.0. So that is one thing which I missed in the previous thing, so I would like to mention here. To answer your question, I think we are on the right path, and the golden opportunity was there, and I think the bigger golden opportunity is here in front of us.
So I will just say that, sometimes we have a trend following that 2 nanometer, if you're not doing anything. Just to put some perspective, India consumes 90% of the chips that have nothing to do with 2 nanometer. That is number one. Number two, within the semiconductor consumption in the world, we think that it is only digital technologies, which 2 nanometer represent. In reality, 30% of the world runs on non-digital technologies, which are called as compound semiconductor. And they have absolutely no nomenclature of 2 nanometer or 28 nanometer. They work on voltages. And these are like 30-year-old technology. The IGBT that is used in 90% of the energy sector, that is a 40, 50-year-old technology. And if we are able to do even 10% of that, we will do a great service to our nation. India may, even today we do not have any IGBT design. Inverters, any traction inverter, any voltage converter, from energy transmission to energy generation to energy consumption, everything is imported in energy sector. And this is area that nobody is speaking about, right? So compound semiconductor, which Sandeep ji is working on, is actually exactly on that. So there are different verticals which have independent requirement, and all verticals are a golden opportunity. So you go to power sector, our renewable targets, we have kept 500 gigawatt. Today we are at 100. The 400 gigawatt needs to be achieved what we achieved in 75 years. How it is possible with no design company, no manufacturing company? Now luckily things are coming up, but it will take some time. EV sector, the entire EV transformation is banking on both these power devices as well as a lot of controllers that will be running into 40 nanometer technology, 65 nanometer technology. We don't even have that. Then the entire industrial, you will be surprised, the fan BLDC controllers. We have 300 million households. Each household has roughly, let's say, 4 fan. Yeah? 100 million units. the BLDC controllers are 130 nanometer technology. If we are able to do that, it will be a multi-billion-dollar industry. So let's not get hung up with 2 nanometer only. If we put our feet on the ground, start having the whole cycle from architecture, design, then manufacturing, OSAT, and a successful customer launches. I think that is the whole chain we need to crank. And it has to be application driven. So we are indeed on a golden opportunity on many fronts.
This is great to hear. I think we have come to the end of our panel. Here's hoping all the success to all of you guys, especially with regards to ISM 2.0. I hope I do not disappoint you with regards to today's announcement. But let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But thank you so much to all of you.
Thank you so much to our moderator and our panel members for having such an insightful discussion. I would now request Ms. Yogita Chawla, Assistant Secretary, PhD CCI, to come up and felicitate our guest. I first request our moderator to kindly accept our token of gratitude, Mr. Shubhayan Chakraborty. Thank you so much for your presence today. I also request Shri Sanjay Gupta sir to kindly accept our token of gratitude for sharing their experience and insightful perspectives with us. I also request Shri Ankur Singh, Founder and Chief Executive Officer of Vayu Group of Companies, to kindly accept our token of gratitude for his valuable insights on engineering excellence. Thank you, sir. I also request Shri Ankur Jain to kindly accept our token of gratitude for sharing his valuable perspective on semiconductor innovation, technology and leadership. Thank you, sir. I also request Shri Nikhil Chawla to kindly accept our token of gratitude for sharing his valuable perspectives on emerging technologies and innovation. Thank you. Thank you once again to all our panel members and our moderators. I request all the members to kindly stay back for a photograph. I would also request Ms. Yogita to kindly facilitate our partners, our strategic partner, Bharat Electronics Limited. I request a representative from Bharat Electronics Limited to kindly come up and accept our token of gratitude. I also request a representative from our associate partner, MAIT, to kindly come up and accept our token of gratitude. Thank you so much to Bharat Electronics for being such a wonderful strategic partner to us. I also request a representative from a session partner ESSCI, to kindly come up and accept a token of gratitude. A representative from our session partner ESSCI. I request a representative from MAIT to kindly come up and accept our token of gratitude. Thank you so much, sir, for your continued support. I would now like to express sincere appreciation for our organizing team, volunteers and support staff whose dedication has ensured the smooth conduct of today's program. I also request all of you to please go ahead for lunch. The lunch is ready and will be served in the foyer. Thank you so much.